Plus and SABC2. Then on SABC radio stations at 6 p.m. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport, the official broadcaster of AFCON 2025. It's game on everywhere.
For the love of the game.
Are we ready for a real conversation? SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. The National Pulse is 3 to 6 p.m.
Right. By the way, you know the story. You could you can call in live. That's one option. You could WhatsApp, text, or voice note. You can also tweet. And when you do so, tag SFM Radio and myself, Ashraf Garda. Give me your thoughts on all the things we've been speaking about here. So one is specifically the issue of this, the naval exercise on South African waters by BRICS nations, which is nothing complicated. The complication is Iran. Why would the president feel the need to relegate Iran from participant to observer? When I'm saying why, I think I know why, but I want to know why. And then we hear that that was not adhered to, allegedly. So we have to wait for the report, which will take a week. And I just wonder why we can't just get a quick WhatsApp response to say, sorry, it was me. This is what I did. I just don't know in this world of mass communication. But anyway, we'll get Kingsley Makubella's thoughts as well on that. Today's ad hoc committee ended early. Any thoughts, anything that's come out of that conversation today? I'd like you to pick up on that. And what for you stood out today? That's just one thing. I do know, I mean, just what's come through from today's conversation, right, is the key points about what's promised next time around, but amongst the summaries, right, and specific quotes, right. Here's one where Lieutenant General Dumisani Khumalo saying, and this is such an important one, highly trained combat members of the SAPS in Gauteng are moonlighting, working for syndicates outside their official hours, like a double job. Maybe you do it, or I do it, but can someone who's a combat member of the SAPS do that? Can they moonlight? Well, that's the claim made by Lieutenant General Dumisani Khumalo. What do you make of that? And then next week, amongst what may happen next week, there's a lot of very important guests that will come through in terms of the ad hoc committee that we will certainly cover. But give me your thoughts in terms of what you've learned. That conversation with Sophie Mokoena, a key word I'm using nowadays. Come on, react. What do you make of it? Let's get your reaction.
Ashraf, is the minister is the minister inquiring, or they just giving explanation to Americans?
Well, look, I'm really not clear what you're saying, but I'm trying to imagine what you may mean by that. Is it for the Americans or is it for South Africa? In fact, who is it for?
Afternoon, Ashraf. Hope you are well.
Yep. All right, we'll try and connect with, let's just sort out that technical issue. Let's play this, right?
I'm from Palm Ridge. I heard something about coast employees from SAPS, and I do believe that I'm one of them. Because mid-COVID, I'm not sure if it was post-COVID or pre-COVID, I had written everything that was needed to be done. The only thing that was left for me to do was the medicals. Then things were rushed here and there, others were taken, they went. And now funny part is when I look onto Kiesco says that I work for SAPS, but I've never changed that on my profile on Kiesco. So how can one challenge this? Thank you.
Okay, well, listen, I mean, I think that question is a question we all will be asking. How do you challenge it, right? We'll find out soon, I think.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Ashraf, I fail to see why the government remains silent on the situation as it is in Primary in Durban, especially given the risk of reuniting xenophobic violence. With over 11,000 South African children still lacking school placement, it's troubling that a school like Eddington is largely filled with foreign national kids, some of whom are undocumented, and the children from Lesotho cross border daily to attend school in South Africa. It's clear that South African learners should be prioritized before admitting foreign children.
Look, I think it's clear. Listen, I think you're right to a degree that you have to have people who have their documents in order to be prioritized, right? South African or otherwise. What's come through is in terms, and it's been contested, that once you arrive in the country, even if you're undocumented and you're here, how they deal with you is one thing, but your child has the right to an education. Should that be rethought? Tsokolo in Harrismith wants to talk about the cigarette companies.
Yeah, Ashwar, how's it, bro?
Yeah, how's it, man? Go for it.
Yeah, no, not good. Ashwar, you know what? I don't know, as South African, why can't we open our brain, eyes, everything, and vote for Operation Dudula, because that's the only party, if it's a party, who's fighting for these people of this outsider like foreigners.
But how did you say the only people fighting? I mean, different parties fight at different levels. You know, doesn't mean. How do you make the assumption that they're the only party fighting?
I think so, Ashwad, because the other ones are not fighting. It looks like they are happy with these foreigners that are coming in South Africa here. You understand? So, look now. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm listening.
Okay, look, I heard that this company from Heidelberg is gonna sometimes maybe shut down.
Yeah, right.
Why? Because of these illegal foreigners who selling this cigarette in our country here. Now,
but wait, I mean, is it illegal foreigners selling it, or is it anybody selling something that's illegal?
Where
I mean, there's a difference.
Cigarette coming from?
But it could be a South African who has got links to anywhere in the world, so they may not be illegal foreigners. It could be someone citizen doing something illegal.
Yeah, I think it will be better if it's someone from South Africa to deal with. If there is no other people around South Africa, that one is gonna be easy because we can deal with that one. Those ones, if I hear. So now, what I'm saying to South African, now it's a hard time. We must start fighting this from our local government. You see, there is a lot of mukukus here from these people who selling this cigarette, and they selling this cigarette cheap. Look now, our companies now are gonna shut down because of this illegal cigarette that is coming in our country, illegal. Even if it can come here illegally, why they can't sell their cigarette where in their places? Because we do have our cigarette in our country. Why they are coming with that cigarette and sell them here? We don't want to see that cigarette. Look now. And
well, look, it's obvious. We have to move on, Tsokolo, but many people want to see those cigarettes. That's why they're buying them. They're buying them in such big numbers that British American Tobacco can't compete with them. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just telling you the point that there are many people who are consuming those cigarettes that you refer to. We need to move on. It's news time, Tsokolo. Thanks for that contribution, but you've put it on the agenda, and many are asking those questions to say, when a company like British American Tobacco is going to shut down because they're unable to compete, not with another company, but with actually companies that are doing illicit trade in cigarettes, and they're rampant in South Africa, then you have to ask the question about the governance of that in our country. Right, consider all of that. Let's get the news headlines. Here's Zondela.
Thank you, Ashraf. On the news headlines, a total of 11 people have died in the floods that hit Limpopo since the 25th of December. To date, President Cyril Ramaphosa visited Chakuma in the Vemba district and Mbawula in Mopani district yesterday to assess the extent of flood damage. British American Tobacco says it has begun engaging workers and unions in the Section 189 process that could result in up to 230 job losses at its sole cigarette factory in South Africa. And the government of Myanmar has begun its defense against charges of genocide against the minority Muslim Rohingya people at the UN's highest court. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the M1 southbound in central Johannesburg, queuing towards Crown Interchange, and the M2 westbound in Crown has delays towards Main Reef Road. In KZN, the N2 southbound in Amanzimtoti is where a crash is reported on 20 Hill, and a crash on the N3 southbound after Key Ridge East. A expect lane closures. In Cape Town, the N1 outbound slow moving on Plattekloof Hill and the M5 southbound slow moving towards Milner Road. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Tumi Nkapele.
To me, you got your eyes on AFCON, right?
Yes,
The referees,
Yeah, a very good afternoon to you, Ashraf, and our listeners. Well, the president of the Confederation of African Football, Patrice Motsepe, says that CAF has taken note of concerns about the standard of refereeing at the ongoing Africa Cup of Nations tournament. Motsepe says that any questions about the integrity of match officials or their decisions must be taken seriously. He has assured fans and teams that CAF is addressing the issue. He also added that he's been in regular discussions with referees and their leadership during the tournament to understand the problems and also find the solutions.
That's a very important point. And what is important is what the ordinary football supporter and the spectator thinks. So, of course, I had a meeting with all of the referees and with all of the VR operators and the match commissioners before the competition started, and I said to them, we have to officiate you. We are proud of you. You've got to officiate every match at the highest level with the highest degree of integrity, impartiality, independence, and also there's a recognition amongst all of us that what the ordinary supporter thinks about football is critically important. And we've got to respect that. I heard some of the supporters saying, yes, but was that not a penalty? Was that not a red card? Was that not a goal or whatever the observations are? We are intently attentive to that.
And that's the thing, Ashraf. I really like the fact that CAF have actually taken a standpoint with regards to the officiating. I mean, just the other day I was talking about some referees who were supposed to officiate in the final that have been taken out and replaced because of some of the mistakes that they did in some of the games. So they not all just talk, but they're actually doing something about it.
But that's quite normal, isn't it? I mean, at tournaments that the best referee ultimately would referee the final.
Yes.
I mean, that's the norm. I mean, I think beyond that, not just with this competition, but with league referees in South Africa and maybe even in Europe as well, I just think there should be like a public referee stable. There should be like a log. Who's the best every day we know, based upon the least amount of mistakes you made.
To
like
also
those that have really done a good job are top of the log.
Right? Well, still staying with football, Mamelodi Sundowns wingback Aubrey Mudiba has admitted to being caught off guard by the club signing of former Orlando Pirates winger Monapule Saleng. The Brazilians have already confirmed 3 new signings in the January transfer window, with Saleng the most prominent moves off the window following his 6 months loan at Orbit College on the back of initially being frozen out at Pirates.
I was very surprised. I didn't see it coming. I don't want to lie. I didn't see it coming. But I was like, oh, I want to sign him for us. I was very happy and excited. And I couldn't wait to meet him and see where his headspace is. And, he can help us in the team.
Well, there you have it. One of our listeners was asking earlier this week that they're very surprised that Monapule Saleng is going to Mamelodi Sundowns.
Yeah.
Even the players were surprised. So, hey.
Even he's surprised.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how he's going to settle in at Sundowns. Meanwhile, England manager Thomas Tuchel says that players will need the right social skills and personality to make his World Cup squad. Tuchel has just 2 friendlies in March against Uruguay and Japan before naming his squad for finals where England face Croatia, Ghana and Panama in the group stage. Since replacing Gareth Southgate, Tuchel has shown he is unafraid to leave out big names such as Jude Bellingham and Phil Foden while recalling veteran Jordan Henderson. He insists that the right balance is more important than simply selecting the best players. In tennis, Coco Gauff has welcomed the record prize pool at this year's Australian Open as progress, but says that it's still not enough. Now, the tournament has pledged a 16% increase in total prize money to 111.5 million Australian dollars, which is around 1.2 billion rand, with men's and women's singles champions earning around 4.5
15 million Australian dollars, which is around 45.6 million rand. Players last year united to demand a greater share of Grand Slam revenues and contribution to welfare programs such as pensions, as well as consultation on major changes. And Gov said that the percentage of revenue allocated is still not where they would like for it. However, it is great progress. In rugby, SA Rugby has announced the nominees for its annual awards. Springbok stars Peter Steph du Toit and Oxen Chair again nominated for the Rugby Player of the Year award alongside Malcolm Marx, Sasha Feinberg Mgomezulu and Jasper Visser, who is nominated for the first time. In the women's rugby, 4 former winners, Roos Azeza Hele, Libby Janse van Rensburg and Babala Laja are among the nominees for the Women Player of the Year. Several young players are also in the running, including Feinberg Mgomezulu and Kanan Moody, and the success of South Africa's teams is reflected in the Coach and Team of the Year categories, with nominations for Rassie Rasmus and the Springboks, Philip Snyman and the Blitzboks, and Kevin Foot and the Junior Boks. Now, players from Currie Cup winning Griquas and other provincial teams are also nominated, highlighting strong performances in domestic rugby this season. On that note, it's a wrap from my side for now. I'll have more in the next
By the
hour.
way, if we talked about this referees league, that's what we're talking about.
Yes.
I know in Britain or in England a while back, they had the referees kits sponsored something by Specsavers. I'm serious about it.
Interesting.
I just wonder if we did it in South Africa, who would be the most appropriate sponsor of the referees performance league? So is it Specsavers or somebody else?
It's that time of the year again. Back to school. New uniforms, fresh books, and new beginnings. As learners return to the classroom, let's encourage them to dream big, work hard, and stay focused. Parents, teachers, and communities, this is where the journey continues. SAFM wishes all learners a safe, successful, and inspiring school year. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. If we have rights, shouldn't we also have opinions? SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. You're listening to the National Pulse on SAFM.
Okay, we're going to talk about what's happening in Uganda, that election taking place right now. But there's lots of calls and comments from you, and of course, you as part of the National Pulse community, you drive the show. So let's hear you out.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. It's Theo in Cape Town. Ashraf, if I can give the government advice or the president, I will advise him to stop getting involved or exposing South Africa in a continent or in the world. Because if anything happens, I don't think we are going to be able to defend ourselves. I don't see how we're going to defend ourselves when it's crime out of order in a country. So presidents must stop getting too much involved internationally and to expose the country. This is not a good thing. If American is involved, don't put your nose there, because we're going to be ahead and badly. But you're in Cape Town.
Thanks for that. But you see, that makes the assumption that the Americans are in charge of our country. They're in charge of our domestic policy. They're also in charge of our foreign policy. And that cannot be acceptable. But at the same time, that can apply to just about every other country. The fact is, most countries do have a foreign policy, and therefore you have the United Nations and the concept of multilateralism. If you don't have that, then even a thing like the BRICS nations, just don't get involved with them as well. Just be isolated. On the other hand, what is worth thinking about is, do you find that South Africa is far more involved in critical foreign policy issues to a degree higher than they should? And does that make us vulnerable domestically? Does it or does it not? Think about that.
Good afternoon, Sir Ashraf. Sir Ashraf, priority number one is your own children in their house in South Africa. Hospitality first, it's first them. Food, it's first them. Jobs, you must first cater for them. Why is ANC giving all these jobs, all these businesses, tax shop. They even, last time here in Bloemfontein, they banned the foreign national shops. Isma Khashule pop out 20,000 so that they can buy back their stock to start again. You get those things. Thank you.
Okay, I hear what you're saying. I'm as confused even after you said it, but I know what you said about starting out. What are the priorities? It's a good question. What are the priorities?
Good afternoon, Ashraf, and the listeners of the show. Ashraf, yes, indeed, we're BRIC countries. We must exercise our rights on having naval exercise on our sea waters. But the timing on its own this year was a bad one. We see issues with America and Venezuela. We see America with the Iran issues, but we keep on going. What we don't know is that big countries fight their wars outside their countries, or smaller countries who might be exposed. Prima by Prochaklan.
Thanks. You see, that may be a point, Brian, that whereas I disagree with maybe some of the other earlier comments that South Africa effectively must have like no foreign policy, you just can't do that, okay? But can South Africa be a lot more tactical and strategic about how they go about doing things? It doesn't mean they disagree fundamentally with issues, but you also can't be having a fight every single day of the week, can you? Yeah, all right, there's more.
Afternoon, Ashraf. Speaking to Bongani Machine here from Kwakwa, my man. I want to comment about the ghost workers that are found in the SAPS. It's not only the SAPS department that have the ghost workers. Even the municipalities, each and every department in the government has the ghost workers. That's the problem that we are facing as a country. The corruption will never end as long as we have such things in our justice system. So it's still a long way to fight corruption in South Africa. Thank you, Bongani Machine here in Kwakwa.
Okay, thank you for that. And again, bringing up the issue of ghost workers. We don't have ghost talk show hosts, I can assure you of that.
Afternoon, Ashraf is speaking to Sfiso in Devon. You know, Ashraf, I'm not out of the topic, but I think that this is moving the national pulse. You know, people, they talk about the game of Nigeria and Morocco. And I told them here where I stay that Morocco is going to beat Nigeria. It doesn't matter which way. It's going to beat the Nigeria. Even they can go to the penalties, they're going to beat Nigeria. Even now, they are going to beat Senegal. Morocco is playing at home, and they have 12 players, which means that this is the supporters of Morocco. And I believe, definitely, I'm telling you, it's going to be beaten. Senegal is going to be beaten. A lot of people, they are siding with Senegal, but I'm telling you, it's going to be beaten by Morocco. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. I'm certainly looking forward to it. I mean, there's two big football games to watch this weekend. That game is Sunday evening, and I've made an appointment to watch that game. The African Cup of Nations final. Before that, it's Manchester United. The much maligned, suffering Manchester United against Manchester City, the high-rising Manchester City, how those tables have turned. So looking forward to that. Right, what about tables turning or not in Uganda?
If we have rights, shouldn't we also have opinions? SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. SAFM, setting the nationwide agenda daily.
Okay, let's talk about Uganda. So there's this election, and I mean, context of that is that the incumbent Yoweri Museveni has ruled Uganda since 1986. And we're sort of halfway through with the results of this current election, and the polling stations now reflect that Museveni has 76.25% of the vote. Bobby Wine, the key challenger, 19.85%. So how should we be looking at this, and what would be the outcomes? Seems obvious, is it? We'll find out. With me is Dr. David Matsanga, the political scientist and conflict resolution expert. Dr. Matsanga, as always, appreciate you sharing your thoughts with us here on the National Pulse.
Thank you very much, my brother, for calling me again. And I predicted this. I told you. I wrote and I said, there is no way Bobi Wine will ever win that election in Uganda. Never. He will never. Even Angel Gabriel coming down, he won't. Because he did a very poor job. He did not campaign. He has no structures. He hasn't fielded candidates. In summary, in all constituencies, he only fielded 200 candidates. Constituencies. What about 529? He couldn't win. There is no rigging here. This is real. This thing. I'm not President Museveni's party, but I believe in truth, and that I reflected that same opinion. Between 60 and 75% is where he's going to flow. He's going to go that way.
Okay. Now, I think for most people, considering how long Yoweri Museveni has been in power and the vast numbers, the vast gap between himself and Bobby Wine, the obvious one would be like, this must be the president rigging it, as we hear so often. Yet you are very clear that's not the case. Why are you so convinced that there's no rigging involved?
There was no rigging because of I have followed. I'm a Ugandan myself. I know the politics of that country. I know the areas very well. I know the constituencies. I know the strategy that President Museveni has used and which he has been using. Museveni is loved by the rural community. The opposition in Uganda is these hamburger eating boys who come from New York, Washington, London, Matanga, who have been out. They know this, talk that. In the town is an urban area. President Museveni uses the same strategy which Mugabe used to use. You can hate Mugabe in the urban area, but when he got the rural area, all those elders, they love the guy. They gave him votes. President Museveni had mobilized. President Museveni record on security, on food production, on poverty alleviation, on many other things. He has done it very well. He has laid the program on education. He has laid the program on infrastructure. He laid the program. He sold his manifesto. Mr. Bob Wine just kept on insulting the president. He insulted the president for 90 days. There was nothing he was doing. Only Museveni. With international people, there's a man called Amsterdam. Another rogue lawyer running around here in Amsterdam, called Amsterdam, telling people, oh, we shall do this, we shall take you to ICC. No, Ugandans don't need that. Ugandans wanted an alternative. And the two, Bob Wine himself went on being tribal. This election is not tribal. Bob Wine comes from a stronger area like KwaZulu-Natal. In fact, Bob Wine became Zuma of Uganda, of South Africa. He went to KwaZulu-Natal, formed a party, and which got seats.
You said in this election, Bob Wine did, in fact, he did not campaign. I mean, I find it bizarre that's the case. Why would he not campaign?
He campaigned, but which message was he sending? Insult. He campaigned. Which message? Most of the younger people that Bob was running around with, some of them went to drink beer. They didn't come to vote. They haven't. Some of them are working today, say, oh, is the voting over? You get my point?
Yeah. What about, I see Bob Wine has now called people to go to the streets to protest. What do you make of that?
That is very dangerous. How can you call people to go to the streets when you have lost an election with such a margin? That's a big margin of 2 million votes, over 4 million votes. He didn't do well. He went tribal. We cannot accept going to the streets, and the Ugandans going to the streets will suffer. But that's not joke with security.
Okay. I tell you what, we'll have a chat maybe in a few days' time. Let's see what follows outside of the official result and the Bobby Wine response from that. Dr. David Matsanga, thank you for your time. Covering the election analysis that is in Uganda. At this point in time, 3/4 of the vote going to the incumbent leader of that region, Yoweri Museveni. How convinced are the Ugandan public about him? Because if they voted for him again, clearly it's a tick for him. Much appreciate your time here on the National Pulse.
7-time record holders and 3-time continental champions are chasing the bronze medal. The Pharaohs tackles the Super Eagles. Who will finish third? This is the Total Energies Africa Cup of Nations Morocco 2025. Catch the third place battle between Egypt and Nigeria this Saturday, 17 January at 5:30 p.m. Live on SABC Plus and SABC2. Then on SABC radio stations at 6 p.m. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport, the official broadcaster of AFCON 2025. It's game on everywhere.
For the love of the game.
X at SFM Radio and at Ashraf Garda.
In fact, there's news. I'm looking at Sherwin Bryce Pease's tweet, and he's saying the 2026 Olof Palmer Prize is to be awarded to Navi Pillay and John Dugard. And what's important about them is both are South Africans. The 2026 Olof Palmer Prize awarded to South African international lawyers John Dugard and Navi Pillay for their outstanding contribution to the defense of fundamental human rights at a time when states violate international law by committing crimes against humanity, resulting in death. Now, there we are. When we talk about the champion people building a champion nation, that's a good example of just that, isn't it? That we have some incredible, outstanding individuals, not just, South Africans, working in South Africa and around the world. And we have many of them doing so individually, others doing it collectively. I think what we need to do, the big challenge for 2026 is how do we, collectively come together on that issue. Right, let's just see if there's calls from you now to call in 086 000 2032. React on the conversation about Uganda. What do you make of that? He's Dr. David Matsanga, right? He's very convinced that this election was not rigged, that Museveni's got the he's got the support because he has campaigned well and he's sort of checked, ticked the checklist there across the board to do things well, and therefore has convinced people, and he's done so very well in the rural communities as well, and therefore they've given him the thumbs up. Now that's the one. Then the earlier conversation with Sophie Mokoena, it's an interesting thought in terms of how South Africa has managed this issue about Iran. First of all, if Iran has done nothing wrong but they're part of the BRICS nations, as part of a normal procedure, should the president even ask them to step down? Why would he do so? Now, the converse of that is, of course, he must ask them to do so at a time now where the world is wondering what is going on, and there's huge numbers of deaths. It's all unconfirmed with the actual numbers because there's such conflicting stories around that, but there's clearly a problem in Iran. There's no question about it. We also know that, airspace blocked, there's been no internet access, so there's a blackout of information. Why would you do that, right? Okay, but I want to engage you, so do call in. With me now is Riaz Mullah, who's the CEO of Hyperion Dev, right? And let's talk about it, because what we're looking at as we get into the new year is this issue of people grappling with unemployment and how they deal with it, but also, I suppose, making yourself very, very relevant. So linking education and creating pathways for success. So Riaz Mullah, appreciate you joining us on the National Pulse.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Well, the $1 million question needs $1 million answer, isn't it? This important issue of creating pathways from education to work at a time when unemployment in our country is just unacceptably high.
Yeah, of course. And that's why at Hyperion Dev, we are the pioneers of something called a boot camp. So it's a new type of education product that is not just about getting you a certificate you put on your wall, but an actual job. And we started off doing that in tech, in coding. It's getting people with no skills, putting them through a boot camp, getting them their first job in data science, web development, software engineering. Now we are very pleased to work with Stellenbosch University and many other universities around the world who certify these courses. So you get that university stamp of approval, but also the real skills to get into a job.
So what's required? Someone listening in, obviously you have to have an affinity for data science, I would think. What do they need to do next?
No, we have people who are Uber drivers, who have accountants, who are unemployed, who even studied computer science that couldn't get a job in tech coding, took one of our boot camps, and now they're working as a junior developer or data scientist. So you don't need any skills at all to make the transition, but you do need to find a way to get into one of these boot camps. We do run some scholarships, we do run some discount promotions, we do have loans, but I think it's a new form of education, and I've spent over a decade myself building this company and building this type of education because, in South Africa, world's highest youth unemployment rate, but software developers in South Africa actually earn the second most in the world relative to living expenses. So it can be incredibly lucrative if you can find that fast track into this type of career and this sector. And, people say AI is taking over, but wouldn't you be one of those people who's building the AI or tweaking the AI? Because those are the type of jobs our graduates do go into, and that's not going away. Tech is even bigger every single year than it's ever been, right?
I mean, I'm looking at one of your quotes. South Africa doesn't have an ambition problem when it comes to tech talent. It has an outcomes problem. Best to explain that.
Yeah, we have millions of people that now come to our websites and inquire or play around with the different courses we have on offer every year. So a lot of people out there, they want to be developers, they want to be in tech. But when it comes to outcomes, you've got computer science degrees here in South Africa that many people go and study at. I was one of them, but it's actually the degree with one of the highest dropout rates. More people drop out of studying a computer science degree than studying medicine in South Africa. And so, at Hyperion Dev with our boot camps, we've really designed it so you don't drop out, you get help from a mentor, and you get a real outcome. And what I mean by that is, nearly 80% of our graduates get an offer for a new tech job within 6 months of graduating. So I think outcomes in education is really getting that job.
So what would you be doing differently? I know you mentioned the boot camp, but I mean, really, what's different compared to what you're doing and the many others, considering that high dropout rate you've alluded to?
Well, we're not the only one that does these boot camps, but we are the best, I'd say. Obviously, I'm a bit biased. But, you go do a computer science degree, you'll get all the theory, you'll get the lectures, you'll get the math. But, when you want to get a job at an employer, they want to see you can code. Can you code? Can you code well? Can you use AI to code? Can you communicate? So in our boot camps, what we're doing is from day one, you're writing code, a human mentor is reviewing your code, giving you feedback, doing one-on-one calls with you, coaching you, a separate team of career coaches from day one of your program, say it's 6 months. From day one, they are meeting with you weekly to start preparing you for interviewing for your first tech job, getting introduced to our network of employers. And so you need to be really laser focused on how are the things I'm learning going to get me that job in 6 months? And it needs to be much more directed at practical skills employers want.
All right, as we conclude, then what about, so give me the how-to. If someone's interested, and I hope they should be, what do they need to do to engage you to join the bootcamp?
Look, Google it. Google Hyperion Dev Bootcamp or Stellenbosch University Bootcamp. We're very proud of our partners to Stellenbosch University, who've kind of reviewed our teaching methods, the curriculum, and also do some of the teaching in the programs, do some videos. So we have two types of offering in the South African market. Sign up and, our team will help guide you through the process. If you need a loan, if you need to pay over 24 months, there's ways to arrange that too.
Okay, but I'll tell you what, feel free from your side. You can tweet, post on Facebook as well about links. Happy to share that. Just tag SAFM Radio and tag myself, Ashraf Garda. We'd gladly share that. Thanks for your time. This sounds very, very interesting, Riaz Mullah. More of the same required, certainly, in all sectors of South African society. Riaz Mullah, the CEO of Hyperion Dev. And in fact, I'll spell out all of that after the news. Let's get the news now. It's 4 o'clock.
Thank you, Ashraf. On the top stories, 11 people killed in Limpopo floods and British American tobacco begins its Section 189 process. For SAFM News, I am Onde Lambana, and a very good afternoon. A total of 11 people have died in the floods that hit Limpopo since 25th of December to date. President Cyril Ramaphosa visited Chakuma in the Vemba district and Mbaula in Mopani district yesterday to assess the extent of flood damage. Premier Popi Ramatuba says so far 4 billion rand is needed to repair infrastructure.
We regret to inform you that we have lost lives to these floods. This is the number that includes the 7 that happened during December and the 2 that has happened since the 1st of January. And with the latest heartbreaking case involving a 5-year-old child who could not be saved by his parents.
ANC Deputy President Paul Mashatile says failing to preserve and elevate the legacy of war veterans runs the risk of erasing the very fabric of the country's democracy. Mashatile added that the veterans are not relics of the past, but architects of the future. He says Mkhondwe Sizwe cannot remain a passive observer in the ANC as they helped shape the party. He also expressed his concern about the veterans' lack of access to improved healthcare, housing and economic opportunities. He was speaking at the ANC's Mkhondwe Sizwe Liberation War Veterans Conference in Bloemfontein in the Free State, where new leadership for the association will be elected. Crime Intelligence Head Lieutenant General Dumisani Khumalo has refused to divulge the names of the politicians allegedly involved with criminal cartels in the country. Khumalo was answering questions on his last day before the ad hoc committee looking into concerns around issues of national security. The ad hoc committee was established to investigate allegations of the criminal infiltration, corruption and political interference in the justice system made by KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi last year. Khumalo elaborates.
As I've indicated during my testimony, Honorable Chair, that as per the legal framework, we are not allowed to identify a subject of investigation until the investigation is finalized.
The renewed bail application of the two men accused of murdering alleged underworld boss Mark Liffman has been postponed until 28 January in the Thembalethu Regional Court in George, Western Cape. Johan Jacobs and Gert Bezuidenhout are charged with gunning down Liffman at the Guardian Route Mall in November 2024. Their initial bail application was denied in January last year. During proceedings yesterday, the state rejected claims made by the accused, reading affidavits from investigating officers disputing allegations of unjustifiable solitary confinement. They told the court that the men had requested to be housed separately for their own safety and could apply for transfers. British American Tobacco says it has begun engaging workers and unions in the Section 189 process that could result in up to 230 job losses at its sole cigarette factory in South Africa. BAT confirmed this week that it was shutting down its Heidelberg plant in Gauteng, blaming the rapid growth of illegal cigarettes. The company says nearly 3/4 of all cigarettes sold in the country are now illegal, making local production too costly to continue. Head of Corporate and Regulatory Affairs at BAT Sub-Saharan Africa, Johnny Muloto, explains.
It means that as a business that is now operating only at 35% or a manufacturing facility that's operating at only 35% of its total capacity, you are unsustainable or unviable. It's no longer possible, to keep this local factory going.
The government of Myanmar has begun its defense against charges of genocide against the minority Muslim Rohingya people at the UN's highest court. Myanmar's representative at the International Court of Justice has claimed that it's being unfairly cast as a pariah, the BBC's Anna Holligan reports.
In court, Myanmar's agent described the genocide case brought by the Gambia as rudimentary, rooted, they say, in an old UN fact-finding mission, not in hard evidence. They argue that allegations of atrocity need to rest on facts, not, as they put it, blurry pictures. At the centre of this case is what happened to the Muslim population in Rakhine State. Myanmar characterises its 2017 operations there as counter-terrorism.
Recapping the top story, a total of 11 people have died in the floods that hit Limpopo since the 25th of December to date. I'm Onde Lambana for SAFM News Headlines at 4:30.
In sports this hour, South Africa under-19 men's cricket team chasing a target of 266 set by Afghanistan in their opening match. Kimi praises team sacrifice as Morocco reach AFCON final, and Sinner says that doping scandal made him stronger. I'll have more on this at 4:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, a stationary vehicle on the N12 eastbound at Rietfontein Road, a stationary vehicle on the N1 southbound after Garsfontein Road, and congestion on the N1 northbound before Allendale Road. In KZN, on the R66, a truck crash recovery underway, plus minus 5 kilometers from Malmöth towards Ulundi at Mfule Bridge. The road is closed. Congestion reported on the N3 northbound ramp to the N2 and a stationary vehicle on the N3 northbound after Shongweni interchange. In Cape Town, the N2 outbound is slow moving towards Bunga Avenue, Kuburg Road, Portsdam Road in Tableview, slow moving at Blauberg Road, and the M5 southbound queuing towards Ottery Road. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
Here, there, and everywhere. SAFM 105 FM in Mokopane.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
And a conversation with Riaz Mullah, the CEO of it's Hyperion Dev. Let me spell it out: HYPERION. And then Dev is in DEV, development, okay? And then you can just, Google that for bootcamp, and the same with Stellenbosch University bootcamp. You'll be able to find it as well, right? Okay, we're going to chat to Kingsley Makubela just now to get, he's been critical, in fact, I understand, of South Africa's dealings with regards to the naval exercise and Iran, okay? So we're going to talk about that to him just now. But let's now reflect. It's been a week, can you believe it? Just about, well, one day less, in fact, of the return now to Parliament's ad hoc committee 2026. Let's get an analysis all of that. Just before I do that, let me just shout out to you that feel free to contribute anytime, and the best way to do that, a quick call anytime, is a WhatsApp, because that means we can voice note, we can just bank it and play it whenever we can. Otherwise, when we open the lines to call in live for you, then you can do that as well. So either way, would love to hear from you. Right, let's then get to the issue of 1 week of Parliament's ad hoc committee for 2026, right? Let's find out what actually happened and make sense of it. Andy Mashaile is a security strategist and retired Interpol ambassador. Andy, as always, appreciate you connecting with us on the National Pulse.
Good afternoon to you, my brother, and compliments to you and the family at home and your production team there during this fiery week at the ad hoc committee.
Okay, well, thank you so much for that. So let's start with that last word you used, the adjective, this fiery week. Why do you say it was fiery?
We saw General Pasani coming out, guns blazing. You could see how angry he was because of the treatment that he told us that was meted out to him unfairly and unjustly so, and also criminalizing him. And I could see the anger on his face when he drew the image on our minds of Paul O'Sullivan and the shenanigans, as well as the evil that he has unleashed on law enforcement agencies, capturing NPA, capturing IP, capturing SAPS, and going behind Pasani's back to take his newly built house from foundation, pictures there of the house, and many of those things. So the week opened very fiery, and the week today closed on a very fiery note in terms of the dangerous smartness of General Khumalo in terms of dishing out critical, strategic, and information that might help those that he is investigating. He had to ensure that he does not unleash unnecessary information that could let people off the hook. I could tell when they were asking him about the minister and the evidence, whether he has evidence. You could tell that he doesn't want to say yes and he doesn't want to say no, because obviously in his mind as a counterintelligence operative and specialist, he wouldn't want to give people on the other side of the TV screens where he was seated some leeway to navigate themselves out of the legal quagmire or the law enforcement quagmire with regard to arrest and prosecution.
Okay, so Andy, if I could break it down then this week into just 3 key moments for you, what for you were the 3 key moments, and what is your take on those 3?
The key 3 moments: 1, Paul O'Sullivan and General Pasani. 2, General Dumisani Khumalo and the highly contested area or terrain, the minister, in terms of direct and indirect evidence and circumstantial evidence that could be used by the ad hoc committee members to come to a certain determination. 3, I could what I picked up between the 2 scenarios or between the 2 events was once again the issue of General Pasani raising human resources issues, should I say satanic human resources issues that he has brought to the fore in terms of the employment and many of those things that have to do the same thing that General Khumalo was talking about, ghost workers and the people who are controlling that area, therefore leading to the fracas and the weakness in the law enforcement agencies that you see.
So let's get your take on it. Maybe starting with the 3rd one. So what's happened? What do you feel about it? What's come through? What's your understanding of the implications?
I think, Ashraf, my brother, you and I want to have a clean law enforcement agency or a police force or whatever that they call it, the police department. 2, we want the police department to get people with integrity and competence running the system. 3, we want the law enforcement or the police department to be a corrupt-free space. For now, it is not, and the people who have been identified to be having a generally corrupt relationship with syndicates that would form themselves into a cartel. Those individuals, which leads me to point number 4, those individuals must be arrested, prosecuted, and incarcerated. These are some of the critical issues that would help you and I have a clean police force. If it means dismiss all the police officers and start from scratch, that's what we must do, instead of allowing those who have been identified. The evidence before me that I'm analyzing based on tells me what I don't want to hear. The stories about Ket Matala giving the minister an X amount of money, giving a deputy national commissioner 2 million rands through the window, the side window of the car that was rolled down. These are some of the things that really send scary images into your mind and in my mind with regard to can we really trust these people?
All right, and the other your thoughts on the other points you made earlier?
I think General Pasani had an opportunity before the ad hoc committee that he has been aspiring for, that he was praying for, both personally and professionally. Remember when he mentioned the people who sat on that special operations group or the Pasani task team that had to deal with him decisively to block him from becoming the national commissioner. Those are some of the things that really brought the anger out of him. Knowing him very well as a soft-spoken person, says to me, he had an opportunity to mention the names of the journalists amongst others, except for Paula Sullivan, the forensic investigator, Barry Bateman, and the late Karima Brown and others, those people who were designing a propaganda narrative that was aimed at saying he's a bad man and therefore could not become the national commissioner. These are some of the critical things that came to light. You and I did not know of these things. We were sold a story that he was a bad man, and he came up around and said, I'm not a bad man, this is what happened. People said and decided to put me as their person of interest or a target of their subject that is moving and influencing. Lastly, the information that came to the fore that Robert McBride wanted to become the national commissioner, and he was stabbing Pasani in the back when they were meeting. On the other side, having established a team that was led by Paul O'Sullivan when he was not a police officer, giving police officers and members of IP, the media, and all those that came to play, giving them instructions and directions on how to bring Pasani down. I think those are some of the very, very scary things that we saw.
Is there any final point you wish to bring?
The final point that I would want to bring with regards to this week, I am happy that these things are coming out to light, Ashraf, because we will then be able to apply our minds in terms of closing the trust deficit between the police and the community, knowing very well who does what and who is supposed to fit where. When we register cases, will the station commander send a detective to go and get the file from a specialized team? Will they be running parallel processes as we have learned through General Kumalo's evidence or testimony these past 2 days? And what do we do in the event of that nature? Can we take legal action to stop these things from happening? When we do so, when we get the court order, how do we get the court order to make sure that there is competence, there is operation within the confines of the law?
Okay, that's so we're going to leave it to Andy Mashali. I appreciate your time, and I'm sure we'll chat soon here on the National Pulse.
Mzansi, Powerball has reached a mega 165 million rand estimated jackpot this Friday. That's one of the highest jackpots to hit the country. Play Powerball for an estimated 165 million rand jackpot today for your chance at greatness. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial *120 *7529# for USSD. Panda, Pusha, play. Players must be 18 years old or play responsibly. eTuba is the proud operator of the National Lottery. The journey of 24 African nations has reached the final kick. 2021 champions closes the curtain with the hosts. The Lions of Teranga confronts the Atlas Lions. Who are the real Lions of Africa? This is the Total Energies Africa Cup of Nations Morocco 2025. Experience the final between Senegal and Morocco this Sunday, 18 January, starting with the closing ceremony at 7 p.m. and build up at 8 p.m. Live on SABC Plus, SABC2 and SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Then on SABC radio stations at 9 p.m. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport, the official broadcaster of AFCON 2025. It's game on everywhere.
For the love of the game.
For 90 years, one voice has informed, challenged, and connected a nation. SAFM, South Africa's national English public radio station. Established in 1936 as the SABC's very first service, the A program, evolving through the English service, Radio South Africa, to SAFM in 1995, shaping thought and strengthening democracy. From a full-spectrum station to a trusted home of news and talk, SAFM continues to lead the conversations 90 years strong. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
SAFM Music. Good times, good memories.
Somebody
Old school sounding so good. SAFM Music with you wherever you go. SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide.
You know, the crime rate in our country is just ridiculous. There's news now of 4 suspects who've been shot and killed in a gun battle with the police in Woodlands. So the suspects have been shot and killed. Maybe that's the good news from a perspective. But the fact that it's even happened in the first place is just bad news. And it just happens just far too often. Right, let's move on. Did I tell you who my fireside chat guest is going to be? No, I didn't. So we're going to be chatting to Lebo Ramafoko. You would know Lebo. Normally it's like, hey, Soul City, isn't it? But, she's moved on from Soul City a few years ago. She's now the new executive director at Corruption Watch. Did you know that? Well, we're going to talk to her about that and everything else about her own career as part of the fireside chat from 5 to 6 p.m. So don't just listen. Tell your chummies as well to tune in. Get them on board. Love to get them to hear her conversation with us, right? Okay, what about South Africa, Iran, BRICS Plus, and naval exercises, and throwing the USA into all of this? A lot has happened in the last few days. There's been American and disappointment about South Africa's allowing the Iranians, not just them, other countries too, on South African waters as part of a BRICS Plus naval exercise, which is not uncommon. We also hear stories of the president effectively downgrading the role of Iran, and this is all alleged from participant to spectator. And there's a further conversation that, in fact, that was not adhered to anyway. So there's now an investigation from the South African National Defence Force. If all of that gives you a huge headache on a Friday afternoon, well, then I'll join you, because it's really very confusing. Dr. Kingsley Makubela with us, former South African ambassador and now director of Risk Recon. Dr. Makubela, Kingsley, it's been a long while having you on the air. Thanks for joining us.
Good afternoon, El-Haj. Wonderful to talk to you once again.
Yeah, it's about time, I think, right? Thanks for that, Kingsley. So, if I have it right, you, I think, have been critical of, let's call it the maneuvers, not just in the waters, but even political maneuvers in the last few days regarding South Africa and Iran in particular. Tell me more about it.
There are two aspects to this maneuvers, El-Haj. The argument has been that South Africa shouldn't have invited the Islamic Republic of Iran because of a host of issues. People are raising sanction ships, sanction that. And basically, South Africa to take sides, and they're starting to question the non-allied stance of South Africa. But what really perplexed me, El-Haj, is the fact that South Africa last year, September, participated in the naval exercise that is called the Bright Star 25, that was co-hosted by the Americans and the Egyptians, and it attracted about 70,000 personnel. It took place in Egypt. The countries that participated there were the United Kingdom, South Africa, Germany, Italy, UAE, Somalia. No one ever raised the question of non-allied. It's never been a question. Now it comes as a question. What is worrying is the statement that has been issued by the minister this afternoon, as you alluded to. The
minister of the defense minister you're referring to.
Defense minister.
Yeah. Tell me about the statement. What did you say?
But the statement, the minister is instituting a board of inquiry to determine if the instructions of the president were misrepresented and about the participation of Iran in the exercises. But minister doesn't spell what instruction exactly. That's one. When the instructions were issued, it's not spelled out. Who are the people who were given those instructions? There are worrying things. If indeed instructions were given to our defense and they ignored the order of the president, it's quite concerning. Whatever reason they may have, once the president has issued out an instruction, it's an order from the commander-in-chief. It must be adhered to. So that raises question, but the statement by the minister has more questions than anything else. Why was it issued out this time around?
Well, I mean, we'll go back to the beginning in a moment, but let's just stay with that part now. The statement, right? So there's an inquiry, right? And one of the things that I even raised with Sophie Mokoena earlier on is like, if an instruction has been issued by the president and it was not adhered to, why would it need an inquiry to find out who was the instruction given to? In
Precisely.
today's world, I mean, I would think it takes a WhatsApp message to find out exactly. Am I right?
You actually work the reverse way. You go back. Instructions given to who? If it was, I suppose, was given to the Chief of Defense, why were this instruction not adhered to? Why are this talk of instruction coming out now? Because there has been a discussion in the open public discourse since the last few days, Al-Haj. People saying that there have been instructions that Iran should not participate, should take a back seat. Why were there no intervention at that stage to try to check if indeed the order that has been given is followed, it's integrated in the procedure of carrying out the exercise? There must be a script that is provided to the political leadership to say this is how this thing is going to pan out. Why was it not done at that stage? Why is it done now? I'm just worried, Al-Haj, that there's a perception really to project the Chief of National Defense as this a person who has no sense of obeying instruction. This individual is so cunning. So I'm just worried.
But I mean, on that point, does that Chief of Defense or whoever received the instruction from the president, does that person have any discretion to agree or to disagree with it? No, right?
Well, then the instruction from the president is not debatable. No. If there's any institution that there's no democracy, it's in the military. The order comes from the president, is the order. It can't be debated. It has to be carried out completely. There's no discussing of the rationality of the order. The only thing that military personnel can do, it's not to carry an illegal order. If in a worst case scenario, the president say, go and massacre the whole nation, they will not carry out that, because that would be an illegal order. But they can't decide if the order of the president is rational or irrational. So that discretion is not with them, it's with the president.
So on that basis, what do you think is the likely outcome of the inquiry?
You know, I'm just worried that the manner in which the statement came out, it raises more questions. The question that I asked myself, Ashraf, because they didn't intervene at the beginning, was there no threat by the other countries to withdraw if Iran is not included? I don't know. That may have been the case that the Russian and the Chinese said, if you take out the Iranians, we're not going to be part of this. It's also an irony that yesterday the presidency issued out a statement talking about what's going on internally in Iran. But that statement, Al-Haj, it runs short of dealing with certain fundamentals that are starting to emerge. The truth that is starting to emerge, that there's been outside forces instigating this unrest, providing arms,
so it's a very understated,
in the domestic affairs.
It's a very understated statement, isn't it? It talks about restraint, absolutely. And that's it, yeah.
Yeah. And why is it coming now? Not even raising interference in the domestic affairs of Iran, which is covered under Chapter 2 of the UN Charter. So that statement that was issued by the president yesterday, is South Africa not under pressure by these big powers, particularly the Europeans, not to invite Iran? Now they are trying to find a way. Is the Chief of Defense not made a sacrificial lamb? So this is something that we need to see how it plays itself out. And I think it's good that we live in this democracy, that we can reflect on this issue and raise our views and opinion openly.
Okay, quickly,
so I think we'll continue to do that.
Do you think South Africa has been under pressure from the Americans and others too?
I think there's been a lot of pressure, particularly from the Europeans, not to include the Iranians. There's been pressure in the past for the Russians not to participate. There's been pressure from the US also that Russia and China shouldn't. Is it not that taking side if we are able to do military maneuvers with the US and its allies, and South Africa can't do military alliance with the Chinese, the Russian and their allies?
All right.
Because South Africa interfaces with both divides. So that's what non-allied is all about.
I have a feeling we'll have another conversation sometime next week. Dr. Kingsley Makubela, former South African ambassador and now director of Risk Recon. Goodness, Risk Recon is what we need to be doing in our country right now. Much appreciate your time, Kingsley. Let's get to the news headlines now. It's for 30 years on Della Mbana.
Thank you, Ashraf. On the news headlines, lawyers for former President Jacob Zuma and Thabo Mbeki have argued that chairperson of the TRC cases inquiry, Justice Sisi Khambembe, is likely to be biased due to positions she has held in the past and therefore must step down. A total of 11 people have died in the floods that hit Limpopo since the 25th of December to date, and meteorologist Joel Guy says the heavy rains lashing South Africa, Mozambique and Zimbabwe in the past few days is due to tropical low pressure system. A full update follows at the top of the hour with Greg Hoos.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N12 R24 westbound in Bedfordview, queuing on both routes towards Gilulis Interchange. The N12 in Eldorado Park, queuing between Golden Highway and Klipspruit Valley Road, and the M1 southbound, slow moving towards Boysons. In KZN, congestion on the N3 northbound ramp to the N2, a stationary vehicle on the N3 northbound after Shongweni Interchange, and on the R66, truck crash recovery plus minus 5 kilometers from Malmouth towards Ilundi at Mfule Bridge. The road is closed. In Cape Town, the M5 southbound has a fault fire reported near the Ottery Road exit. Campground Road is closed opposite the cricket grounds for tonight's SA20 match, and Marine Drive northbound in Milnerton is where fault fire is reported near Broad Road. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Khapele.
Right, we've been talking so much about AFCON. There's a Cricket World Cup in our country right now, an under-19 Cricket World Cup.
Yeah, there is, and South Africa's under-19 men's cricket sides are actually playing their opening game of the World Cup. Earlier on, Afghanistan posted 266 for 8 in their 50 overs, and right now South Africa are on 169 for 5. After 39 overs, South Africa still needs 98 runs in 64 balls to win this one, so we'll definitely keep a close eye on what is happening there. In football, Morocco captain Ashraf Hakimi says that the sacrifices made over recent weeks, combined with the pressure of playing on home soil, are paying off after the Atlas Lions booked the place in the Africa Cup of Nations final. Morocco face Senegal in the AFCON final on Sunday around 9 p.m. And the Paris Saint-Germain defender also spoke of the pride that he feels in leading one of Africa's traditional powerhouses to the brink of a historic achievement.
Really happy. First of all, I want to congratulate all the team from the effort that they make today. Not only today, the sacrifice that we be doing for 1 month. It's not easy. We lost a lot of things to do. Our family, our children, everything to arrive in that moment, to arrive in that final. I think the team deserve after the work today in front of a great team. But I think the team deserve. And now, special moment, I will have to enjoy, be focused in the Sunday.
In rugby, France Steyn says that the Cheetahs will give their all despite uncertainty heading into the final EPCR Challenge Cup pool match against Racing 92 in Paris. Both the Cheetahs and Racing are winless at the bottom of Pool 3, with top 4 already qualified for the round of 16. Steyn, who had 59 appearances for Racing, admits that preparations have been far from ideal after a month without action and limited training in heavy snow, but says that the team will come out swinging and playing their style of rugby. In golf, Rory McIlroy says that Live Golf is losing steam. This is after failing to attract new major signings and suffering the loss of Brooks Koepka back to the PGA Tour. Koepka's return was enabled by the PGA Tour's returning member program for recent major winners. Now, the likes of Jon Rahm and Bryson DeChambeau rejected the chance to return to the PGA Tour, while Liv re-signed the likes of Dustin Johnson and also added Belgian Thomas Detry. And McIlroy insists that even a mega money deal for DeChambeau Change Lives product. In tennis, defending champion Jannik Sinner says that last year's 3-month doping ban made him stronger and more relaxed on court. The 24-year-old won the Australian Open in 2025 under the cloud of drug scandal before serving a suspension after twice testing positive for a banned steroid. Sinner maintained the substance entered his system unintentionally via a physiotherapist's spray, and the World Anti-Doping Agency ruled that he had no intent to cheat but held him responsible for his actions. Now, in terms of Canada's Victoria Mboko, she stormed into the Adelaide International Final with a commanding 6-2 and 6-1 win over Kimberly Burrell. The 19-year-old needed less than an hour to dispatch her Australian opponent, and Mboko will next face Mira Andreeva or Dinah Schneider in the championship match. On the tip, it is a wrap from my side for now. I'll have more in the next hour.
Absolutely. Are you doing predictions today, by the way?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, the final is here.
Welcome back. Thank you. Right, yeah, more sport and predictions in an hour.
Sorry I'm late, Sevi. Had to fetch my lucky putter. No worries, let's go. We're teeing off in an hour. Great. We're taking your car. Can't. It's already taken. What do you mean taken? It was right here when I left a few minutes ago. I sold it to WeBuy Cars and made a whole lot of green. Birdie told me that's the best way to sell your car. Not only the best way, it's the fair way. Kom ons vat die pad.
Don't be doof, be savvy. We buy cars geared for a fast sale, geared for you.
The journey of 24 African nations has reached the final kick. 2021 champions closes the curtain with the hosts. The Lions of Teranga confronts the Atlas Lions. Who are the real Lions of Africa? This is the Total Energies Africa Cup of Nations Morocco 2025. Experience the final between Senegal and Morocco this Sunday, 18 January, starting with the closing ceremony at 7 p.m. and build up at 8 p.m. Live on SABC Plus, SABC2 and SABC Sport on TTT Channel 4. Then on SABC radio stations at 9 p.m. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport, the official broadcaster of AFCON 2025. It's game on everywhere.
For the love of the game.
Mzansi, Powerball has reached a mega 165 million rand estimated jackpot this Friday. That's one of the highest jackpots to hit the country. Play Powerball for an estimated 165 million rand jackpot today for your chance at greatness. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial *120 *7529 hash for USSD. Panda, Pusha, play. Players must be 18 years old or play responsibly. E2 is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
Right, we need to get up to date with what's happening locally and globally with regard to the markets. To tell us all of that, here's Paswane Mpatlele from Makwe Fund Managers. Paswane.
For your listeners, well, the World Bank has lifted South Africa's growth in 2025 to 1.3%, and this is at the back of the improved power supply we've been seeing throughout, agricultural boost and business confidence, which will yield capital spending going forward. Meanwhile, our 2026 outlook ticks to 1.4%, and 2025 is at 1.5%. But risks such as global trade continue to remain, so cautiousness will still be in play. Meanwhile, investors are agreeing on the no rate cut in the end of January in the US, and this development has led to dollar continue to get positive momentum as it ends its weekly gains, adding to its third weekly gains. And assets such as oil have a positive correlation with it, have ticked up 1.4% at $64.64 a barrel. Bitcoin holds at 95,000. Meanwhile, the likes of platinum are down at 3.8% at $2,311 an ounce. Gold slightly 0.2 at 4,606. Still bullish and still offering buying opportunities, as is reflected in our resource sector that is down 2.4% and has dragged the JSE down 0.8. Meanwhile, gains we're only seeing on the JSE up from financials slightly up 0.2, while industrials were flat. When we look at the US equities, they open up led by the Nasdaq up 0.5, S&P 0.3. Europe is muted to lower, CAC up down 0.8. When you come to the currencies, with the dollar now having made a consolidation and looking to turn bullish, rand weaknesses are starting to play through. We see the rand against the dollars at 16.40, still healthy levels. Rand against the euro 19.05, and rand against the pound 21.98.
Thanks for that, Paswane. We'll connect again with you guys and your team on Monday, of course.
SAFM. Prime time all day long.
I had a bit of a chuckle when I chatted to Kingsley Makubela. Not so much about the content, because I think the content that he spoke about is very, very concerning, isn't it? The chuckle was his continuous calling me of Al-Haj. And someone messaged me saying, what does he mean by all of that? So let me tell you, if you know of Al-Haj Diouf, right, the Senegalese striker, that's the title accorded to a person who performs the Hajj pilgrimage in Mecca. And Kingsley and I go back a long time. He clearly is aware of that, and therefore the constant calling me Al-Haj. So there you have it, Al-Haj Diouf, Al-Haj Ashraf in this case here. Right, let's get to your thoughts, okay? Right, call in live. I'll take your live calls right away. You should have the number. Save it if you haven't, because you need to save it like permanently. 086 000 2032 to WhatsApp, text or voice note 0614 104 107. Right, reaction, my conversation with Kingsley Makubela. Reaction, the conversation with Andy Mashaile on the ad hoc committee, a roundup of the week. Reaction regarding David Matsanga commenting about Museveni going to run that election in Uganda because Bobby Wine has done nothing in terms of canvassing. He's taken it for granted or something along that line. And then, further comments about other things we've discussed, including, of course, linked to the Kingsley Makubela one. Earlier on, we chatted to Sophie Makwena about that. Just what do you make of how South Africa's dealt with this Iran naval exercise issue? What do you make how South Africa's dealt with just, the statement they issued yesterday about asking for restraint in Iran? How do you think South Africa's dealt with that as well internationally? I'd really like to get to know what you think about all of that, right? Okay, let's get to your thoughts. Here's one on the naval exercise.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Ashraf. This is Moses. This press statement from the Defence Force Department and the Ministry actually about the Board of Inquiry into the participation of Iran into the naval exercise comes against the backdrop of the chief of the South African National Defence Force having visited Iran. I think it must have been around August 2025, wherein the chief made some political statements that embarrassed the country. I don't know if there's a linkage, in terms of what has happened recently. I don't know. Thanks.
Well, we don't know whether, I don't know, there's a link. I think things are so dynamic. These things change by the week, right? So you can't talk about what happened 6 months ago and it changes now, right? Here's one link to that.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Good afternoon, listeners. I think it's very clear that there's no leadership. There's lack of leadership. So Ramaphosa, no one is listening to him. Remember, he instructed the Iran not to participate. But what happened? And yet our economy is not growing. Let's look at our economy. It's not growing. You understand that? So I think Ramaphosa, he must go. No one listen to him. No one take instructions from him. He must go. He must resign. Thank you, Patrick in Soweto.
Okay, that's it. He must go. Do we know? You think he's been ignored? Why would he resign? Shouldn't the person who ignored him resign? Think about that. Right, there's a caller, Nelson in East London. You want to talk about the Ugandan elections, Nelson? Go for it.
Yes, I want to congratulate Yoweri Kaguta Museveni for the winning of the elections, and I was listening to the caller who called later, and I happened to come from Uganda. Really, Museveni is a humanitarian leader who is down to the people, who has done a lot to the country, and no people reward those who have done. At times, politicians want to take politics. I don't know what, if I may say, working in wards, but Museveni has been on the ground to work for the people, and I believe people have rewarded him. What I can advise, yes, we need young people like Chagrani in the system, bring in new blood and new energy, but they should put groundwork and tell the people what they want to do for us, so that we can support them, knowing that the gains of NRM, the gains of Museveni cannot be taken for granted and be lost in just elections.
I mean, according to the analyst we had, he feels that Museveni will win it in a landslide, and that's because he's got huge support in the rural communities. Why do you think he's got that support? Never mind how long he's been in power.
Yeah, when you consider politics of Africa and you consider politics of Uganda, Uganda has come a long way to gain what it has. It has gone through almost 10 presidents, but most of them were leaving bloodsheds, tribal wars, creating a lot of insecurity to people, and that's why Museveni has united, if I may say, religions, tribes, and I believe that's why people still want him to continue leading, and like if I may say, building is not easy than putting down.
Okay.
If I'm now in South Africa, if you consider ANC, took so many years to go to power, but now after going to power, they forget what to do after power.
Okay, thank you for your comments, and I'm sure we're going to get others responding to what you've just said, Nelson, in East London. Right, don't forget we've got Lebo Ramafoko, now the executive director at Corruption Watch. You may know her, I think, most prominently for her role as the head of Soul City, right? But she's now head of Corruption Watch. She joins me on the fireside chat on, well, just now, 5 to 6, right? Hi, Ashraf, the bully of the world. The US is not pleased that BRICS is getting stronger. Trump will do all he can to make it difficult for BRICS. South Africa is a key strategic location for the maritime industry. The US applies double standards, will not arrest convict Netanyahu, responsible for genocide, but can bomb and kidnap an elected president. Comes from Hussein in Durban. Right, that's 1 point. Let's get another take on Iran. Chris in Leidenberg. Hi, Chris.
Hi, Ashraf. How are you?
I'm good indeed. Much appreciated. Thank you.
Ashraf, I'm not a conspirational theorist, right? But if I look at the way things are going, more especially between the interaction between the president, the SANDF, the Navy, and the SAPS, you will recall, I mean, there's like very, very fraught relations between the chief of the army, and last year we saw with the Navy in their gala dinner, there were very strong remarks that criticized the current regime. And even during the Madlanga Commission, basically the police chief, the national commissioner, wasn't happy about certain things, much as the disbandment of the PTT, through the president and through, Senzo Mchunu. So, in my mind, I think we have a very perfect recipe for a coup. And like I said, I'm not one to believe in conspiracy theories, but I mean, the ingredients for a coup are basically there. And if we are not careful, Ramaphosa could be headed for a coup. That's my 2 cents.
Very ominously, nobody really wants that. Chris, thanks for that. One thing you don't want is a country destabilized by undemocratic means. Because, I mean, whichever way you put it, a coup is just that. It's an undemocratic way of shifting the political leadership of a country. Anyway, thanks for that, Chris. Right, what about Uganda?
Afternoon, Ashraf. Hope you are well. Nico here. I've been following Bobi Wine since last year, December, when he was campaigning there in his country, Uganda. He went to various districts, and wherever he went, he was being followed by hundreds, if not thousands, of his supporters. They were also being followed by security forces, police forces, intimidating them. So his campaign, for me, shows that he did very well. He's got support from the young people. And I also followed that of Museveni. You can't compare the two campaigns. So if that Museveni old man decides to rig the votes, it's a loss for Ugandans.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for that. In fact, our analyst is very adamant that that's not the case. He's like, no vote rigging. This is exactly the will of the people. And Bobby Wine has not campaigned as vigorously as he ought to.
Ashraf, this is Joseph. Yeah, in Kimberley. That Museveni is just a problem to Uganda. He's just a problem, a big problem to Uganda. People mustn't lie. People mustn't lie. He's a big problem to Uganda.
Okay, you certainly find it, like, if I can call it, seriously amusing, if I can put it that way. And there's more on that. We'll play them. What about the naval exercise and other things? Further thoughts from you and the ad hoc committee too, of course.
I think, in my view, the commission, in terms of the ad hoc committee, parliamentary one, I think that's a waste of time. Their line of questioning, really, I don't see them getting anywhere. More especially with Phahlane, they just wasted a whole lot of time. And Phahlane projected himself as a very clean man, and I don't think he is. Let's wait until all evidence, Paul O'Sullivan provided his side of the story. Everyone, you will realize that Phahlane is as dirty as other compromised police. And I want him to behave that way he was behaving mission, where we have got a strong evidence leaders who can interrogate on issues. That parliamentary ad hoc committee, just a waste of time. All those people there, they don't have that thing, man, to interrogate witnesses. It's just a waste of time, really.
All right, you really think? Do others also think it's a waste of time? But maybe the point that there's less interrogation, as you may call it, allows the witnesses, if I can put it that way, to say much more, so there's less antagonism towards them. I mean, yeah.
Kathy, good morning. No. I don't think we're getting good answers from General Khumalo. I mean, I thought they'll probe him on how long does he think the KPP needs to last, because everyone agrees it was a temporary structure that needs to be disbanded at some point. And how long does it need to continue? I don't think, and the statements that they're making, it's the problem I have with how the approach they took with Mkhwanazi. I don't think they made allegations and then want to investigate them later. Lots of accusations that they made, they now going to investigate them to find facts. For me, it's really problematic. Thank you. It's Mpoya from Freire.
Thank you. And there's been lots of comments again about the issue of illicit cigarettes once again.
Hello, Ashraf. I hope you are well. Ashraf, this thing of this factory that is going to be closed for cigarettes, this thing is started long time ago, and our government didn't do anything about this. And now we have another thing of selling illicit alcohol. Soon, you're gonna hear that SAB closed down because of this illicit alcohol. Watch the space. Get in the more space.
You think SAB will close down because of illicit alcohol? That's so interesting. Sure.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Ashraf, we can talk and talk. But, Ashraf, illicit cigarettes are not coming into South Africa in a satchel or in a suitcase. We are talking a multi-million-dollar business. And this is a big boys business. They are there here in South Africa. We let's not be interested with where the cigarettes are coming from. Let's be interested with the market. Who is facilitating these cigarettes to pass through the borders until they reach to the end user, the smoker? It's a big boys business. That's all I can say. Thanks. James Johannesburg.
Well, I mean, you're right about the big boys business, and of course, you may be also right about who is actually consuming it, because ultimately, it has to be driven by the consumers, and if you don't buy it, like I don't smoke cigarettes, I don't scape, so I don't know. But if you do, why are you buying it? More from you.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Since democracy, ANC has been losing power in South Africa, and we see that at the voting polls. They only had, I think, 35% of the votes in the last elections, because the people of South Africa are disgruntled and upset of all the corruption and the failures of the government. Likewise, the people of Iran are rising up against the mullahs, are rising up against the Iranian government whose policies are failures. They are rising up against the Iranian government who has failed them as a government. And please, let's not blame America. Let's not take the easy punching bag America. The people of Iran are rising up against its government, and they want change. From Cape Town.
Well, thank you for that, Frans, and appreciate you putting that on the agenda. And that is really what we want. There's diversity of opinions, and I'm sure you're going to get someone who's like, "Hi, no, you're wrong. And let me tell you why you're wrong." For example.
Hey, good afternoon, Ashraf. I feel like this should be a wake-up call to Africans, because there's companies that are closing up here in South Africa. I feel like they are somehow not from Africa or South Africa. And there's illegal cigarettes that are emerging. These are African cigarettes. So I feel like this is a wake-up call to Africans to start seriously trading with each other, because you can get a cigarette from, I think, as little as 50 cents. So I think this could even make our lives better if we actually look into it and start really investing in it as Africans. This is Sylvan from Polokwane.
Okay, that's how you take it. Interesting point you make. By the way, there's been like a foul smell in Gauteng, and they say blame it on the flooding in Mpumalanga. Now, I say that because there's an issue of water in GQ, in Gqeberha. Sipa Mandla, let's get your thoughts. Hi.
Hey, Assalamu alaikum, Ashraf.
Well,
Great show, sir. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
So,
Right?
so I work with an organization that called Kayubuntu, Earthbound Eco. What we do is we train people on how to save water using natural techniques and methods. And we currently run like a program behind the South End Museum here in Gqeberha every Saturday morning. So what we've noticed is that like our Impofu Dam, there's been so many reportings of it like losing, like leakaging water unnecessarily. I mean, the city can't handle capacity. I mean, I just like to send a warning to people in Gqeberha. We're standing at like 26% of like 106 megaliters, 106,000 megaliters of water. So that's like a jungle's worth of water. Is like it's all that we have left for our city. I mean, we're losing water per day. So like Gqeberha people can like join us maybe tomorrow morning behind the South End Museum just to learn about how to save water. Like one of our techniques, we save about 1,000 liters per cubic meter in your soil. So you use no water when you're gardening. So we'd like to send that message.
Okay. Well, okay. Thank you for that. Right. We're going to have to move on. It's almost going to be 5 o'clock. Can't play. I was hoping to play some more calls. Can't do that right now because, after 5 today, for the first time in 2026, we have this 1 hour chat, as you know, which we call the Fireside Chat. And my guest is Lebo Ramafoko. Listen, she will get you thinking. I have no doubt about it. Career for a long time with Soul City, then with Oxfam as well. But now the just appointed executive director at, of all places, Corruption Watch. I just wonder what's on her agenda. We'll get to know in a moment. Let's get the news first. It's 5 o'clock.
Thank you, Ashraf. Former president's lawyers argue for TRC inquiry chair to step down and death toll rises in Limpopo floods. Good day to you. Lawyers for former presidents Jacob Zuma and Thabo Mbeki have argued that the chairperson of the TRC cases inquiry, Justice Sisi Khampepe, is or is likely to be biased due to positions she's held in the past, and therefore she must step down. The inquiry established last year as probing if there were deliberate efforts to frustrate the investigation and prosecution of apartheid-era human rights violations uncovered at the TRC. Khampepe, a retired Constitutional Court judge, previously served as a member of the Amnesty Committee of the TRC and then Deputy National Director of the NPA. In Mbeki's counsel, Advocate Nyoka Mavungwa.
Bias could be apprehended because a decision maker who was involved in that process could have been incentivized to defend the integrity of their processes. The TRC recommended prosecutions. The continuum follows. And down the line, we are told that there was frustration, and the very same person who recommended prosecutions has to inquire one way or the other about the so-called political interferences. A reasonable person would apprehend that a person who participated in shaping the TRC's evaluative conclusions and prosecutorial pathways may be perceived as being placed in the position of indirectly assessing the success, failure, or derailment of the process in which she played a formative role.
The PAC threatened to pull out of the Government of National Unity and in all its working arrangements with the ANC in Gauteng municipalities and elsewhere. This follows the ANC's decision to remove the PAC's representative from the Johannesburg Mayoral Committee and replace him with El Jama's Tapelo Ahmed. On Thursday, El Jama filed a motion of no confidence in Mayor Dada Morero, but the PAC says the removal of its member has got nothing to do with service delivery except with political factions in the ANC. It says the ANC wants to appease El Jama, but to withdraw its motion of no confidence in the mayor. 4 alleged suspects have been shot and killed in a shootout with police at Woodlands, south of Durban. Police say 3 others have been arrested while the search for those who fled the scene is ongoing. The suspects were wanted in connection with a number of serious crimes in the province. A total of 11 people have died in floods that have hit Limpopo since last month. President Cyril Ramaphosa visited the Vhembe and Mopane districts in the province to assess the extent of the flood damage. Limpopo Premier Phophi Ramathuba says so far 4 billion rand is needed to repair the damaged infrastructure.
We regret to inform you that we have lost lives to these floods. This is the number that includes the 7 that happened during December and the 2 that has happened since the 1st of January. And with the latest heartbreaking case involving a 5-year-old child who could not be saved by his parents when they were fighting desperately for safety in the Mbaula village.
Meanwhile, meteorologist Joel Guy says the heavy rains lashing South Africa but also Mozambique and Zimbabwe over the past few days is due to a tropical low-pressure system.
Over the weekend, the system moved into the border areas of Zimbabwe, Mozambique and also South Africa. And it has been sitting in these areas almost stationary, not going anywhere over the whole week, at least until Wednesday. And at the same time, it has been producing all those heavy rains that we've been seeing. And because it has been stationary, that's why we're seeing continuous rains across Limpopo and Mpumalanga.
Top story. Lawyers for former presidents Jacob Zuma and Thabo Mbeki have argued that the chairperson of the TRC cases inquiry, Justice Sisi Khampepe, is or is likely to be biased due to positions she's held in the past, and therefore she must step down. That's SAFM News. I'm Greg Huss.
In sports this hour, SA Under-19 men's cricket team need 50 runs in 30 balls to win against Afghanistan in World Cup opener, and Sinner says doping scandal made him stronger. More details at 5:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon.
Starting off in Gauteng, Republic Road westbound in Randburg has a crash at Jan Smuts Avenue, Malibonga Drive westbound in Kaya Sands, slow moving towards Boundary Road, and Winnie Mandela Drive northbound in Fourways has a crash near the N1 highway. In KZN, congestion on the N3 northbound after Harry Gwala Road, expect lane closures and a stationary vehicle on the N3 northbound after Shongweni interchange. In Cape Town, the N7 is where truck crash is reported in the central Piketberg area. The R300 northbound in Kells River has a crash reported between Stellenbosch Arterial Road and Van Riebeek Road, and the N1 outbound has a crash before Woodstock exit. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
The pain of losing a loved one is never easy. At Clientele, we understand that burying loved ones with dignity truly matters. Our funeral plans pay out cash within just 24 hours, and you receive 200 Rand airtime when you claim. Plus, we cover up to 13 people on one plan. SMS SAFM to 48031. That's 48031. Clientele Life is an authorized FSP and licensed life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
As part of our road safety strategy under the banner of Cross Alive, the Department of Transport, in partnership with the Cross-Border Road Transport Agency and law enforcement partners, is extending road safety efforts beyond our borders. South Africa experiences high levels of cross-border travel, especially during this time, and safety remains our priority. Let us work together to protect every life on every route. Brought to you by the Department of Transport, moving South Africa forward.
Mzansi, Powerball has reached a mega 165 million Rand estimated jackpot this Friday. That's one of the highest jackpots to hit the country. Play Powerball for an estimated 165 million Rand jackpot today for your chance at greatness. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial *120 *7529# for USSD. Panda, Pusha, play. Players must be 18 years old or play responsibly. eTuba is a proud operator of the National Lottery.
Here, there, and everywhere. SAFM 105.1 FM in Johannesburg. The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
All right, so there's lots of other messages I know, but we can't take them now because we're moving to fireside chat mode, and the very first for the year. And my guest is Lebo Ramafoko. Now, you may have remembered her at Soul City, but her job description has changed completely. In fact, when we probably last spoke, I was here on SAFM, then went away for 5 years, as you know. So then it was me at SAFM Afternoon Talk, you at Soul City.
Yes.
A lot has changed since then.
A lot has changed. We also had COVID.
Absolutely.
So I think we can talk about before COVID and after COVID.
I can imagine.
Yes.
So tell me, okay, well, what has happened since Soul City?
I made a decision to leave Soul City because I had stayed there for 24 years and I didn't want to arrive at the pearly gates and they ask me, what did you do with your life? And I say, well, I spent them working at Soul City, to paraphrase Whitney Houston. And I also moved because my kids were in Cape Town. I joined Atlantic Fellows for Health Equity in Cape Town, and that's where I was locked down.
Okay.
And
that's COVID lockdown.
That's COVID lockdown, yes. And soon thereafter, I realized that what I really needed was more of an opportunity to do a lot of advocacy, to speak out about a number of issues, that plague the world and the country and the region. And then I joined Oxfam South Africa. So I was only at Tekano Health Equity for 2 years. And then I joined Oxfam, and really because Oxfam works from a feminist point of view to fight inequality and poverty. And the 3 years that I spent at Oxfam were great in exposing me, but making me part of a network of really incredible people who were fighting poverty and inequality. And then at the end, it was, again, what else to do? And I found myself at at Corruption Watch.
I thought you said at Corrupt. Like, I found myself corrupt. No.
No.
Right, you are at Corruption Watch.
Yeah.
What's the appeal for you to be there?
You know, with everything that we are dealing with in the social justice space, with everything that we are dealing with in the poverty and inequality space, the idea that there are institutions and we need to hold them accountable has always appealed to me. So this is not a new thing. But I think, you know, we saw last year, July, with, Mkhwanazi, you know, famously in his military gear, going out there and really telling us what we once believed was only living in soap opera, that we realized that I think as a country, if we are not waking up to dealing with corruption, if we are not making corruption everybody else's business to identify, to speak about, because it really reminds me of the days of HIV, where the messages were you are either infected or affected. So in this case, you are either a whistleblower or anybody who has been, at the cold face of corruption, or you are affected. The fact that we are hearing about Tembisa Hospital, it's a health issue, but it's an accountability issue, and it's a corruption issue. It's an issue of just and accountable governance, you know. It's an issue of institutions that have completely been hollowed out. It's an issue of, if we really think, you know, if you do behavior change, which is, I think, in all of my work is work that I have done, and you say, where are the levers for change? If I really am saying the country is a middle income country, the country has a problem of inequality, and we want to arrest it, there is no doubt, both locally, regionally, and globally, that if you really correct corruption, every cent, every rand, every yen, every dollar, every pound that is meant to do what it's supposed to do, if it did it, you would be able to, to lift so many people out of problems, of poverty, out of inequality.
Well, look, one thing is being an anti-corruption, activist or a concerned civil servant in our country, understandably so, right? The other is taking up a position, heading up Corruption Watch, right? And in you doing that, you are smack in the middle of the eye of the storm, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
You clearly have considered all those options when the offer came on the table. Like, I'm going to be in the eye of the storm. Why did you say yes?
I've always been very, I think, pulled by doing work where I feel for myself I'm making a difference. I've always wanted to measure myself with what difference am I making. And I've always said to people, you can be so hopeless about the world that all you do is to whine and you talk about how bad things are. Or you could say, okay, fine, I'm going to make peace with the world as it is right now because I've got the power to do something. But I'm very inspired by known and unknown whistleblowers. I know some personally. I've been fascinated by people who no amount of threat, no amount of the lucrative nature of corruption has made them become corrupt. And many, many people, and especially women, when you listen to, the many stories, have basically paid a dear price. There is because we don't have adequate protection for whistleblowers. If, for an example, you blow a whistle and you are an employee, you suffer real consequences. You could be removed from a job, you can be silenced, you can be killed. But many of the people who have not been killed will have to fight the revenge and the retaliation that comes with it, where they lose their jobs. They've got to fight it individually alone in their labor court. And our laws are great. Workers have rights. But our laws are also very expensive, And imagine being a whistleblower, having said something about a very powerful person, fighting the state that is not using their own money to fight you as a whistleblower. Many people suffer great social damage. Many people lose their homes. They lose their families because once you have had, spoken out, when you stand alone. And that is why one of the things we want to is a better protection for whistleblowers.
So I think the protection, would be obvious, and yes, just far too. I mean, you mentioned the Tembisa Hospital and Babita Deokaram, and I mean, she's not the only one. There's so many others. Ethel Williams, who's still stuck in the US, in the UK. I can think of many others too. So just in terms of your job, because I want to get into your journey just now, but in terms of your job and position at Corruption Watch, I take it that your role would be to address all of us as South Africans, to say, we're talking to you. So what would you be telling us, A, in dealing with corruption when we encounter that, and B, that means being a participant or a non-participant with regard to corruption, and B, when you are an observer to corruption, as in a whistleblower, what would be your advice to all of us, your message?
With what is being uncovered almost on a daily basis, I think we really want to drive a big research-informed advocacy and public education campaign that says corruption is everybody else's business. And I was inspired long before I knew that I would work on Corruption Watch by I don't know whether to call it a campaign, but it's a hashtag that Dumisole started on Country Duty.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what fascinated me, one day, I was just a social media consumer. Mm-hmm. I watched a literally, if you can imagine this, a taxi coming and hitting somebody on the platform, on the pavement. Yeah. And somebody said, Country Duty, who did it? Who did that? And within minutes, people had told us who was the taxi driver, who hit. And something said to me, well, this thing happens in plain sight. What happened in the Eastern Cape with those 3 guys basically kicking a security guard. Yeah. And I thought, we are all asked money for cold drink. But because I come from a social norm, behavior change thing, I can't help myself, I drank the Kool-Aid, as this saying goes. So for me, it's important that we drive a campaign that, yes, there will be many institutions, including Corruption Watch, that listen to whistleblowers, that run campaigns, that run strategic litigation. But for me, what is important is to say to all of us, it is our business. It is our business. And we are all... General Mkhwanazi, we all see things that should not be happening, and there must be such a culture of intolerance of this that we must speak out. But secondly, there are policy reforms that we can ask for. There are policy reforms where we can actually, fortunately in the democracy that we have, we can strategically litigate, either as ourselves or as amicus, where we go with others and we are friends of the court and we bring our evidence. But also we can work with others like Whistleblower House to issue support for those people who are whistleblowers.
It's a big challenge. By the way, if you want to connect with today's fireside chat guest, Lebo Ramafoko, either you want to say, hey, well done and congratulations on taking up the position, or you may want to comment on what she actually said, or perhaps you are friends and chummies from long time ago, family, and you want to just give her a shout out, go ahead and do so. Now, how do you do that? You can call in 086 000 2032. You can WhatsApp as well, 0614 104 107, text or voice notes. In fact, how did it all start? I'm going to find out next.
You won't believe how much money Outsurance saves 40-year-old Rafiq on his car insurance.
I saved so much money. 899. That's not small change. It's more than 50% that I saved from my previous insurer.
That's an impressive saving on Rafiq's 2017 Nissan Navara 4x4. And after 3 claim-free years, he gets an out bonus. How much money could Outsurance save you? SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Licensed insuring FSP. TCs and information online.
How's it, Mzansi? I'm Clementine Musimani. Step into the all-new era of telenovelas, comedy, and more on SABC2. Arey!
Get Barter School Shoes at Spar for 75 Rand when you spend 350 Rand or more and swipe your rewards card. Buy 2-liter Spar Extra Shelf Life Milk, full cream or low fat for $29.99 plus 50 megs free data on Spar Mobile. Or Kellogg's Cocoa Pops, Fruit Loops or Vanilla Rice Krispies for $44.99 plus 100 megs free data on Spar Mobile. Prices valid 5 till 19 January 2026 while stocks last. Only at Spar. T's and C's apply.
Ashraf Garda is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio.
Right, we'll take some calls as soon as we can. What's your question for my guest, Fireside Chat guest today, Lebo Ramofoko, now the Executive Director at Corruption Watch, but as you've heard, Oxfam before that, and definitely for over 2 decades, Soul City. But by the way, you were part of Soul City from like day one, right?
I joined Soul City in 1995, and between 1992 and 1995, actually, Soul City was not in primary healthcare. The Alex Clinic, that is in Alexandra, where the first television series is modeled around. So I was employee number 7 that joined Soul City.
So when you finally decided you want to move on, as you said, otherwise you'll go to the pearly gates and they'll say, well, you can't just work on your soul to come into to heaven. There's need to more. I mean, how did you feel about it that you made the decision to move? How did you feel about it personally?
I want to take you a little bit to, a few years, maybe 18 months before then. I remember sitting with my daughter who had moved to Cape Town before, who said to me, "Oh, what are you going to do after Soul City?" My stomach froze. It was a hot day, but my stomach froze. It was for me, what do you mean? What am I going to do after Soul City? And it worried me that I felt that way. It worried me because I think I had failed or I had stopped, not failed, to identify myself outside of the institution. And I remember understanding deeply that I wasn't too sure whether or not I would be able to step away. And immediately, I've always been this person that wants to challenge myself to be a better version of myself. Immediately, I knew deep down in my heart that is how I felt. I made it then an exercise to say, I need to plan my departure.
So your daughter was the cause.
Yes, she asked me a question quite innocently, and it took me 18 months of real thought of what might the future look like. What is it that really appeals to me, except waking up and going to Soul City, and I knew I wanted to stay in social justice work. I knew I wanted to stay in some form of activism to better the lives of many other people, to create an enabling environment. Tekano Health Equity seemed like a natural place to go to for 2 reasons. I was going to move to Cape Town and my kids were in Cape Town. But secondly, it was so familiar. The health equity space was so familiar to what Soul City had been for a very long time. And it took me a very short space of time to say, no, maybe it was a safe exit, but it's not necessarily what I would really like to do. Advocacy has always been what appealed to me. You can wake me up and ask me in the middle of the night if I've got an opinion. And I've been like that from when I was young.
I mean, we've had many chats on it, and I mean, around Soul City mainly. But
yes.
You've always come across as just that. I mean, but you ended by saying, since I was young.
Yes.
So let's go to since I was young. Give me your young story. I mean, Mansibala, I understand, is where you come from, right? Yeah.
Yes, I'm glad you mentioned it. I'm the girl from Man, brought up like many people of my generation in a home where you were really made to believe that education is going to be the only way out of, poverty or a way in which you can make a life for yourself. I'm the eldest of 3 daughters, and 2 people in those formative years really shaped who I am. One was my dad. My mother was a nurse, and my dad would come back from work. My grandmother's house was very close by, and then he would fetch me from there. And as he's preparing dinner, he would teach me how to read by reading the World newspaper. I think the younger generation may not know what is the, and I would read, and it opened my eyes of what is happening. I must have been 7, 8, where my dad would say, well, read to me, And the second thing was my aunt. My aunt was a school principal in a farm close to what is Pick and Wood now. In a farm called Hartebeeshoek. A 2-roomed farm school. And I think it's when you start revisiting your youth or your formative years, when you realize just how incredible what some people did and sacrificed. I mean, there was no transport to Hartbeespoort, so we would always hitch her a ride with my aunt. She lived in I think it was a 2-room place with no electricity. But her insistence on excellence in that school was unmatched.
Really? That's your aunt, right?
That's my aunt.
Yeah.
And according to my aunt, there was no better teacher than her. So even when we left there, she would quiz us, so, I don't think they are teaching you handwriting correctly. I don't think that they are teaching. And I think what it instilled in me was to demand excellence for myself, regardless of the circumstances that I was in. And I must say, I'm sure it brought in a sense of elitism amongst us, to say, our aunt is a teacher, and, we pride ourselves in doing well in school. But there was also a number of things, and I think inequality has always been with us. Mansfield only had 2 primary schools that went up to standard 7 then, grade. I don't know what grade it is right now.
Grade 5, yeah?
Yeah, so
standard
primary
5,
school,
standard
standard
5,
5, grade 7. And it is people who could afford taxi fare to Kagiso. And to go to Kagiso from Mansfield, you get a taxi to town, and then you get a taxi to Kagiso from town.
So like Krugersdorp.
Krugersdorp, yeah. So 2 taxis. And I do know many people, some of them who were more cleverer than me, but because of the situation into high school. And soon thereafter, my parents felt that, the schools were, it was the early 80s, the schools were, the riots, as they called them that time, was very unstable. And they took me to a school in Colini.
Okay.
So I have memories of seeing the other guy, what's his name now? I forget it, on his horse. Eugene ter Blanche.
Yeah.
Yes, Eugene ter Blanche.
You saw him physically?
Absolutely.
Is that when he fell off the horse?
No, that's not then. But we knew we were in his territory.
Yeah.
And I think that stability, under those very bad circumstances, where Radi Meyer was the school principal there, like the heart of Afrikaner nationalism and conservatism and racism. There was a school in Petfontein, where I went to. But you've got to recognize that it created a particular stability. Okay. For while schools in the townships, there were riots, and we were making our country ungovernable and our communities ungovernable, we were protected. Our parents took a decision, and maybe it could be defined as a sell-out decision.
I would think someone may be critical of you.
Absolutely.
I know. You talk about the 80s protest. I was in school at the time. And then there was obviously there were strikes and there were riots, so we didn't go to school for about 6 weeks. And I remember the teacher telling us there was a big assignment, history, that we had to do. And we came back and said, right, who did your history assignment? So maybe 50% of the class did it. And he said, right, those who did it, you clearly were not boycotting.
Yes.
He said, those who didn't do it, well done to you. But you understand the contradiction of what he said.
Absolute contradictions. Absolute contradictions. And at that time, our parents were making decisions in the best interest of our children. I think many black parents, and to a large extent even right now, have to make hard decisions for the benefit of their children. And they are not always politically correct to schools. Yeah. Because even right now, parents who send their children to private school, a number of parents of children are talking about how those schools were alienating to who they were, their culture, how they wear their hair. We saw what happened at Pretoria High School. But fundamentally, when you know that you are raising a black child, particularly a black girl child, in a world that is harsh and that is not created for them, I think you are faced with making very, very hard decisions
in terms of what's right for them.
In terms of what is right to them. So you will throw them in a boarding school in Petfontein.
So quickly before we get to the news break, you were saying, so what influence did your dad make on your life, and what influence did your mother make? You mentioned the aunt already. Just in a minute, those two.
My dad exposed me through the newspaper to a bigger world, and my dad affirmed me as a girl that I can be a girl who talks too much.
Okay. So empowered you in many ways.
Absolutely. I didn't recognize the influence of my mom, and I want to talk about it after the news, because my aunt at that time was both my aunts actually, my maternal and paternal aunts, were very influential for me, because I think they shaped who I was as a young woman. And for a long time, I wanted to emulate my maternal aunt, to become a teacher, to become strict, to become, one who pursues excellence.
All right, that we will touch on after we have the break for news and the markets and sports. So you can breathe in and breathe out. We'll get to you in a moment. Lebo Ramafoko, now the Executive Director of Corruption Watch. By the way, quick calls. We're up for that. Calls, WhatsApp comments. If you're up for it, I see a few people are doing so. If you're ready for that, particularly if you know Lebo personally, I'd put you to the front of the queue if you are that person. 5:30, here's the news headlines.
In the headlines, the lawyer for families of apartheid-era crimes have opposed efforts to have the chairperson of the TRC Cases Inquiry recuse herself. The Free State Department of Environmental Affairs has warned the public about a leopard seen roaming between the Glen Agricultural College and the R30 near Bloemfontein. And the Ugandan President, Yoweri Museveni, has taken a strong lead in early results from yesterday's presidential polls. There's a full update at 6 o'clock.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N1 southbound in Wildvreden Park, slow moving towards 14th Avenue. Grayston Drive eastbound in Sandton has delays towards the M1 highway, and the N4 westbound in Pretoria has a crash reported at Bonaccord. In KZN, there's a crash on the N2 southbound after Mhlanga Road, a stationary vehicle on the N3 northbound after Shongweni interchange, and congestion on the N3 northbound after Harry Gwala Road. In Cape Town, My Cape Town hosts Sunrisers Eastern Cape at Newlands Cricket Stadium this evening. Play starts at 5:30. Coronation Street in Milnerton is where a crime scene is reported near Coburg Road, so expect delays and diversions, and the M5 southbound slow moving towards Wetton Road Bridge. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Kapele.
Okay, and Tumi, you're going to have your predictions coming up just now, but what are you going to start with?
Let's start off with the Under-19 Cricket World Cup. Unfortunately, the SA Under-19 men's cricket side lost by 28 runs to Afghanistan. Earlier on, Afghanistan posted 266 for 8 in their 50 overs, and in reply, South Africa were bowled out for 238. In terms of football, the president of Confederation of African Football, Patrice Motsepe, says that CAF has taken note of concerns about the standard of refereeing at the ongoing Africa Cup of Nations tournament. The video assistant referee was hailed as one of the biggest success stories of AFCON 2023 tournament in the Ivory Coast 2 years ago. But a year later, this year's edition, especially in some big games, had been characterized as dubious officiating in some matches.
That's a very important point. And what is important is what the ordinary football supporter and the spectator thinks. So, of course, I had a meeting with all of the referees and with all of the VR operators and the match commissioners before the competition started. And I said to them, we have to officiate you. We are proud of you. You've got to officiate every match at the highest level, with the highest degree of integrity, impartiality, independence, and also there's a recognition amongst all of us that what the ordinary supporter thinks about football is critically important. And we've got to respect that. I heard some of the supporters saying, yes, but was that not a penalty? Was that not a red card? Was that not a goal, or whatever the observations are? We are intently attentive to that.
Well, the AFCON's 35th edition, third and fourth place playoff between Nigeria and Egypt takes place in Casablanca tomorrow, followed by the highly anticipated final between host Morocco and Senegal on Sunday in Rabat. In rugby, SA Rugby has announced the nominees for its annual awards. Springbok stars Peter Steph Toit and Oxen Chair are again nominated for the Rugby Player of the Year award alongside Malcolm Marx, Sacha Feinberg, Mgomezulu and Jasper Visser, who is nominated for the first time. In women's rugby, 4 former winners, Ruiz Azesa Hele, Libby Janse van Rensburg and Baba Lalaja are among the nominees for the Women Player of the Year. Several young players are also in the running, including Feinberg Mgomezulu and Kanan Moody, and the success of South Africa's teams is reflected in the Coach and Team of the Year categories, with nominations for Rassie Rasmus and the Springboks, Philip Snyman, and the Blitzboks and Kevin Foot and the Junior Boks. In golf, Rory McIlroy says that Live Golf is losing steam after failing to attract new major signings and suffering the loss of Brooks Koepka back to the PGA Tour. Koepka's return was enabled by the PGA's Tour's returning member program for recent major winners. Jon Rahm and the likes of Bryson DeChambeau rejected the chance to return to the PGA Tour, while Liv re-signed Dustin Johnson and added Belgian Thomas Detry. Now, McIlroy insists that even a mega money deal for DeChambeau would not change Liv's product. In terms of cycling, Edinburgh and Leeds will host the opening stages of the men's and the women's Tour de France in 2027. The UK government said that it will be the most accessible major sporting spectacle ever held in Britain, with the Grand Departs passing within an hour's drive of 60% of the population and free viewing along more than 900 kilometers of roads. Well, before I say goodbye, Ashraf, I'm going to predict on the Africa Cup of Nations because the focus is on that this weekend, right?
Yeah, go for it.
And we're going to start off with Egypt and Nigeria. I think I'm going to go for Egypt for that
That's
one.
the third and fourth place game.
Yes,
Yeah,
I think
okay.
Egypt is going to win that one or finish third. And Senegal and Morocco, against a lot of people's opinions, I think Senegal is going to win this one.
All
But
right,
anyway,
and
we'll
break
have to wait and
the Moroccan
see.
fans' hearts at home, okay?
We'll have to wait and see if that will happen.
And that's it. Oh, I
Yeah.
thought you were going to give me 5, just sticking with the 2.
Yes.
Man United, Man City, no comments.
No, I don't
All right.
want to go there.
All right, that's
Yeah.
fine. Thank you. You have the agency. Right, enjoy. Have a great weekend.
Yeah, with that said, ke na tumeng kgapela, Modimo ke yo.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
Right, Jimmy, last day of the week here. What do you have? In fact, we'll get to Jimmy in just a moment. In fact, there's a comment from Cabello Mojapi. You know the name?
Yes, that's my cousin. That's my
Well,
brother.
Cabello first quoted saying, "Since I was young," then saying, "My name is Cabello, and Lebo Ramafoko is my cousin. Our mums are sisters. We grew up together in Mansiville. The aunt she is referring to is my mum. Bless her soul. I always knew she would go far." That's beautiful.
Oh, that's too beautiful. Thank you.
Very, very nice. Yeah, I'll check if there's maybe a couple more. I want to just get well, I'll tell you what. Tell your mum's story, because you were talking about your mum's influence then, right? Yeah.
My mom was feisty. And for a very long time, I was just like, hell no, man. So we bumped heads a lot.
Okay.
She passed in 2011.
All right.
And, you know, it started with me looking at because, you know, for many years people would say I look like my dad. And from her funeral and the stories that were told, and I'll tell you one, to me passing on a mirror and I say, oh my God, look who has reincarnated. And I can tell you, I am my mother. You know, just with the
in
bravery,
terms of personality types.
yeah, the feistiness, and it makes so much sense when you reconcile a woman who gives birth to herself in many ways and has to control a feisty person like herself, you know? And I think in a lot of ways, because I'm also a parent, my son is a little bit like me. And really in that encounter, it's just too intense.
Okay.
But what I absolutely inherited from my mother are a number of traits that I will not trade for anything. My mother was very supportive. when I listened to my cousins, including Kabelo, who called my mother Manini, trying to say Mamani, you know, in Setswana, I'm like, who are they talking about? She was incredibly funny, incredibly supportive. So
funny and feisty.
Funny, feisty, and supportive. And there are so many things that now I look at and I'm just like, you know, I am my mother and I inherited who I am to my mother. My mother would fight with me with my daughter on her back. And each time we are fighting, she's moving backwards and she's like, you dare touch my children. You know, like, you dare touch my children. And at the time she's talking about my children. You know, like, I'm just like, what is wrong with this woman? She was unafraid. She was absolutely unafraid. And this is a story that, you know, a matron at Pardekral Hospital tells of my mother. You know, some nurses that had retired were called back to come and help. And then I was studying at some point and living with my kids in the US. At her funeral, this matron says, my mother decided to leave and come to the US. No leave asked for, nothing. Like she went AWOL.
Okay.
And then, you know, she went AWOL and then she came back after a while, after she had been with us in the US. But my mother did not come back and go to the matron's office and say, you know, I'm sorry about what I did, I'm back. The matron met her in the ward, you know, in uniform.
You mean she went straight to work?
In uniform, helping patients. This woman had gone AWOL. Yeah. And, you know, the matron made a gesture at the funeral where they basically said, she said, oh, Sister Ramafuku, what happened? He says, what do you mean? I'm back by popular demand. And, you know, that was my mother. Yeah. That's the thing that she would say, that she's back by popular demand. But absolutely loved by her patients. Absolutely, you know, she drove us like those Sister Nightingale nurses in white uniform, starched, who really took pride in their work. And it was just amazing that in a lot of ways, even the strictness and the I'll chop you if you really, you know, cut me or in any way on things I care about. And absolutely loyal to her children. So she, it's only after the fact that I really, really appreciate.
And I mean, she missed your real career rise, if I think about it.
Right? You know, But what she saw, even at Soul City, she was absolutely, you know, proud of what myself and all of my cousins, including Kabelo, achieved. But I'll be very honest, I think she loved Kabelo more.
Oh, okay, well,
that's
Kabelo made
what
a reply as well. But we're going to look out for your son now. If your son's like you, we're going to look out for him. I tell you what, we got to call Thokozani in Durban. Hi.
Hi, Ashraf. I want to say hi to Oslebu. I was there in JP.
Hi, Bo!
Yeah. And in some Fontaine, you know where, in Vets. You still recall me, Mrs. Lebu?
You know, I've been looking at your name and I hear your voice. Oh my goodness. I can never stand for president. Everybody that I went to school with.
Yeah, and I've lost my hair. I'm bald, but I still recall when you once gave me a little piece of a lecture next to the library lawn. When I was still feeling that, we are there and we are about to take the country. I think it was about to be 1994 elections.
Yes.
And you gave me the wake-up call that, hey, you guys don't rush to this. Yes, how are you?
I'm so good. All the better from hearing from you. You are actually talking about 1992. I remember.
Yes.
At the library lawns.
Yes, at the library lawns. Hey, come on, I'm aging.
I feel like I should step out and you guys can just continue chatting all afternoon. There we are.
I'm so glad. I still have your card from Soul City. It's in one of my old Buffalo, you still recall those checkbooks?
Yes, I do.
That you use. It's on that Buffalo, and I always say, I wonder whether this number still works for this label.
Well, phone and you'll find out.
I'll pick up this label. I'm so glad that we are at Corruption Watch. And really, I know you'll do good more than you are one of the Mkwanazes that I know, and you know where we've been and how did we go. So really, I'm proud of you. I know very well that where you are, there'll be light.
Ah, beautiful, beautiful. Dr. Zani, listen, great chatting to you, and I think your contribution to this conversation has been immense, right? So thank you so much for that. That's such a beautiful quote.
Absolutely. You know, I mean, I think the benefit of growing older, I think, and I was actually with Chrisanne Pether yesterday. We were laughing at ourselves because I went to his offices and I'm like, why are you still here? Look at the many young people who are all over doing creative things, using mediums that we would never imagine would be there, like social media, AI, TikTok, and all of that. And we were just reminiscing about what it meant for us to be that young, you know, to think about the world as so safe that we were facing many, many challenges. But we managed to create a space where, and we were saying with Chrisanne yesterday, we fooled each other that anything that we set our minds to would happen. And in a lot of ways it did, you know. I mean, when I was at Soul City, one of the things that I did was to run a health channel. You know, Chrisanne and I did the Good Life Network, and we ran a TV channel, you know. And I think that is what was special for me about my time at Soul City. It was the ability to be creative and to really think out of the box and do. At the time that Soul City 2 came out, we were showing people and talking about condoms on TV. So many people take it for granted now. I mean, right now people can twerk half naked and nobody blinks an eyelid.
It was not done at that time.
I remember the many meetings we used to have said, is this one gonna unpack it? This character going to unpack it and show it on TV? Have we cleared it with the SABC? You know, TV1 at that time.
Well, I tell you what, I look forward to seeing what you're going to come up with Corruption Watch. Perhaps more of the same innovations, isn't it? Let's talk about, you know, so, I mean, besides being at Mansfield and going to school, you mentioned studying in the USA at some stage. So what were the key career decisions you made, like at a higher level, that's got you where you are today?
I mean, Wits was interesting I started at Wits in 1989 or 1990. And that campus was amazing, you know, in a sense that it was a contestation because it was multiracial. It was a contestation about the Black students movement and the much more liberal, you know, view of students, some who were white, some who were black, but had liberal, you know, leanings. And I think essentially it gave me a sense. I mean, I remember Mary Metcalf, who became the Minister of Education,
interviewed a few days ago,
becoming my lecturer, you know, and then all of a sudden, you look at Mary Metcalf, who was your lecturer, of the evolution of South Africa into a new democratic dispensation. And things were happening. Hillbrow was pumping even on the social scene. I mean, it was just like everything was happening in high definition, as my daughter would like.
So now, like 31. I mean, you want carry on on
the but the thing is, what that did, even Soul City was an innovative idea. Is that the environment was as important as my upbringing, because I think at every moment I wanted to put myself at a place where I challenge myself and ask myself what is next. And when there was an opportunity to go and do a master's, you know, at Harvard through the Mandela Rhodes Scholarship, I took it. At that time, I was a mother of 2 children. Okay. Everybody thought I was crazy.
And you took them with, right? Yeah.
I took them with. And for me, it was just like, why not? Why not take this opportunity, you know, I think I needed at that time an opportunity, 2009. Soul City itself was going through a leadership change. Garth Jaffet, who had been the CEO since he was one of the founders, was leaving, and I needed something to change. And that moment was just amazing, as opening my eyes again, going on another stage, and then coming back to lead Soul City.
And I mean, you've done lots of things, I think, in in public administration and done that well. But I'm very keen, therefore, because you touched on that period just before the elections and where the expectations and what we are now. So I want to find out about that right after this.
What if your child could achieve better academic results in 2026? At Teneo School, they can. Our smart school system tracks every learner in real time and helps teachers spot gaps early. The results? With over 3,500 successful Teneo School matriculants, learners improve their average marks by 12% in the first year. Access affordable private schooling, no restrictive entry, fees starting from 3,000 Rand per month. Enroll now for 2026 at teneoschool.co.za. That's TENEO school.co.za.
7-time record holders and 3-time continental champions are chasing the bronze medal. The Pharaohs tackles the Super Eagles. Who will finish third? This is the Total Energies Africa Cup of Nations Morocco 2025. Catch the third place battle between Egypt and Nigeria this Saturday, 17 January at 5:30 p.m. Live on SABC Plus and SABC2. Then on SABC radio stations at 6 p.m. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport, the official broadcaster of AFCON 2025. It's game on everywhere.
For the love of the game.
I don't understand, but I do love learning. I do love working to my own schedule and getting the support when I need extra help. I do love UCT Online High School because I do love. Apply online before the 19th of January.
Conversations that you connect with and react to. SAFM.
In fact, there's a comment from Thabo Diholo saying, "You've got an ambassador of health and poverty in your studio. I remember her working for Soul City, fighting for social justice. Clearly, that's a big part of your life." So, okay, there was an expectation, South Africa, let's call it 1992, 93-ish, right? And there's South Africa 2026. Give me your thoughts about then versus now. Not a 1 hour chat we don't have, just 3 minutes about, yeah.
We may have been very naive in 1994 or 1996 even, that if we don't guard our democracy jealously and we apply our minds at ethical leadership, that because we had the most progressive constitution, we had built amazing institutions, that it will go automatically. When I read some books that starts talking about corruption at the time of the arms deal, there are talks about how even at that time when the ANC would hold its conferences, corruptors from the global north, you know, those that bribed people into the were there because they were basically saying who's going to be next in power. And I think even in my current job, one of the things that one needs to do in discussing and describing corruption is to be very historical about it, that it is not unique to black people. It is also not unique to South Africa, because the narrative that has led to others going elsewhere and saying the genocide, which is, I think, a form of, terrorism and its form of disinformation, which is a form of corruption, is that we become very ahistorical about what we inherited. An illegitimate state that was corrupt in the way that it was run. But I think we were naive in not understanding what it is that we do to guard all these beautiful institutions that we built, including our constitution.
So what do we do now?
I think we awaken to the fact that we are not unique in the world. You know, we don't have this Madiba exceptionalism that says it won't happen to us. I think everybody, wherever they are, needs to ask themselves, what am I going to do to turn the tide, you know, around this issue? Whether you are in a local municipality, whether you are in an SGB, whether you go whatever, activism, wherever you are. We need to change this norm that we are a tolerant people to wrongdoing. You know, you will pay somebody to queue for you at Home Affairs because they get in line. You will pay somebody at the traffic department to get your license. We need to speak out around this and demand that this country works because it's got the people. When I look at
but do we do it within Parliament, outside of Parliament?
I think we do it everywhere. I think we do it everywhere. I think there are activists that act within their authority because they are either elected officials. The whistleblowers are people who are employed, but we do it outside. We do it everywhere.
Right. We're going to get you in for a corruption conversation some other time, right?
True.
But in terms of I mean, you mentioned the word leadership a few times. What for you has been your personal leadership takeout over the years? That's been your compass.
I think for me, the word leadership is very synonymous or goes around with two words for me: courage and ethics. And I say courage because I think for me, leadership where you hoard over people is not leadership. I think leadership is when you invite everybody you are with to step out, but when you also step out yourself. I think a lot of the things that I look back around, even AIDS denialism and whatever, leadership that I recall, collective leadership, was people stepping out. It was the women in Kailicha who were HIV positive who lent the name of their ART drugs and demanded that the state provides them. Leadership is about solidarity. It's not about I'm the hero. It's about who else do I work with. And I think if we move away from this Western idea, capitalist idea of a leader as an individual who's got all the answers, but we look probably at the way of African governing and African ways of bringing people. I also think for myself what has been very important is being the kind of visionary that can inspire others to do, to walk alongside. And it's either if you are a leader in an organization to do that. But I think it is, for me personally, it's been a process of learning and unlearning. I think one of the things that I want to put down if I was to write a book was what I have learned and unlearned, over the years about leadership and learning from failure, man. We have all made mistakes. And for me, it's very important that we recognize that. But I think for me, it's also talking openly and freely about the challenges that we have had so that others...
So to go. So I've got quite a few questions, but just quick questions with very quick answers to you, Lebo Ramafoko. Now, of course,
I'm Ramafoko. You can't say quick answers.
Now I know. Well, we've got 2.5 minutes to go. All right. Give me a quote that you use often.
This too shall pass.
Okay, got that. Now, a book you'd recommend that we should read?
Always Another Country by Msimang. What's her name? Her first name.
Yeah, that's the daughter of Mbuzo's daughter.
Yes.
Yeah.
How
They'll
do
both,
I forget
they'll
her
both
first
fight
name?
with me. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Just give me the name again because people will ask.
Always Another Country.
Always Another Country. Right.
Yes.
Give me a shout out to a young South African that's relatively unknown, but you just think that person's going places.
She's not relatively unknown, but she's just one young person that I have watched grow, and it's Naledi Chirwa, who's now an MP of the EFF. I have seen her so feisty. She's dynamite because she's in a little package.
She's you, baby.
Yeah, but I look at her and I'm like, wow, the future is in great hands. Whether she's in parliament speaking, whether she's in a community, wherever she is. And I have a relationship with her even before she joined,
great,
parliament. Yeah.
You mentioned, Country Duty with Tumi Soul, and I really appreciate the work that he does. I drive a project called Champion South Africa.
Absolutely.
How do you champion South Africa? What's the one thing that you do that champions your country?
I think for me it's both in my profession by speaking out against injustice, but personally I really love nurturing others. In my own
building
space.
other champions.
Yes.
Right. You have a message to Ramaphosa. What would you tell him?
You have nothing to lose, President. This is your last term. Be Mkwanazi.
Okay, there we are.
Do the things that probably when you were thinking about a second term, you were afraid to do. Right now, you've got nothing to lose. Let's go.
Okay. A message to a global leader? Who would it be and what?
It's so sad that there's nobody that I can recognize on the global stage to speak about. But I want to say to all of them, what the heck? Why are you watching one guy set the world on fire and you all look very sheepish at this point in time for not arresting all of this?
Yeah. Who would you like to take out to lunch?
Who would I like to take out to lunch? If she was alive, it would be Winnie Mandela.
Okay. And a living person now?
Ooh, it's very difficult. But the one woman that has absolutely impressed me is Naledi Pandor.
Okay.
Dr. Naledi.
So another Naledi.
Yes.
Naledi.
Yes.
Get them together. Can you imagine that threesome? That would be amazing. Yeah. How would you like to be? I mean, this is the final thing to you. How would you like to be remembered?
As somebody who never gave up.
Good. Well, don't give up, and don't give up for yourself. Don't give up for our country, because we need to build this champion nation, and
yes,
that
really
relies on people like you now, the executive head of Corruption Watch. So thank you for your time. Thanks for joining us. Much
Thank you for
appreciated
having me
on
right
this
at the
Fireside
beginning
Chat.
of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll have a corruption conversation sometime soon. I'm sure about that. That's the
Thank
show.
you.
That's the show. We'll have this up as a podcast sometime later on tonight, I would think, right? So look out for that, safm.co.za. I'll tweet it out as well as soon as I get it. Let's get the news now. It's 6 o'clock. Here's Greg.
Fits in with what you are trying to do with these young people.
The reality is that private funders do not just thoughtlessly throw their resources around.
It is one thing to get a backtrack like that for a finance guy, hey?
Somebody just WhatsApped me to say that she has a daughter who has hearing loss.
Corruption in South Africa has reached disgraceful levels.
First things first, let's get to my daily that's my point feature. So, did you see Cristiano Ronaldo cry yesterday?
This is SAFM. This is SAFM.
Just tell me about how this concert series fits in with what you are trying to do with these young people.
The reality is that private funders do not just thoughtlessly throw their resources around.
It is one thing to get a backtrack like that for a finance guy, hey?
Somebody just WhatsApped me to say that she has a daughter who has hearing loss.
Corruption in South Africa has reached disgraceful levels.
First things first, let's get to my daily that's my point feature. So, did you see Cristiano Ronaldo cry yesterday?
This is SAFM.
Music never sleeps, and neither do we.
phela isuyinzima. Hard work I am. Ngivuke ekuseni ngenza uhlelo, melela benza njalo. I hold myself impumelelo. Ngasesiseduze nayo. Shilo ini makanana. Shilo ini makanana. Shilo ini makanana. Shigepisha machana mane. Shilo ini makanana. Shilo ini makanana. Shilo ini makanana. Shigepisha machana mane. Makanana. Ilesh makanana. Ilesh makanana. Ilesh makanana. Shigepisha machana mane. Shilo ini makanana. Shilo ini makanana. Shilo ini makanana. Shigepisha machana. Ilesh makanana. Ilesh makanana. Ilesh makanana. Ilesh makanana. Ilesh makanana. Ilesh makanana. Ilesh makanana.
This is SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. This is SAFM.
Just tell me about how this concert series fits in with what you are trying to do with these young people.
The reality is that private funders do not just thoughtlessly throw their resources around.
It is one thing to get a backtrack like that for a finance guy, hey?
Somebody just WhatsApped me to say that she has a daughter who has hearing loss.
Corruption in South Africa has reached disgraceful levels.
First things first, let's get to my daily that's my point feature. So, did you see Cristiano Ronaldo cry yesterday?
This is SAFM. This is SAFM.
Just tell me about how this concert series fits in with what you are trying to do with these young people.
The reality is that private funders do not just thoughtlessly throw their resources around.
It is one thing to get a backtrack like that for a finance guy, hey?
Somebody just WhatsApped me to say that she has a daughter who has hearing loss.
Corruption in South Africa has reached disgraceful levels.
First things first, let's get to my daily that's my point feature. So, did you see Cristiano Ronaldo cry yesterday?
This is SAFM.
Music never sleeps, and neither do we.
phela isuke inzima. Hard work I am. Ngivuke ekuseni ngenza uhlelo, melela benza njalo. I owe myself impumelelo. Sesiseduze nayo.
Shilo ini makanana. Shilo ini makanana. Shilo ini makanana. She got the shama charma. Shilo ini makanana. Shilo ini makanana. Shilo ini makanana. She got the shama charma. Yes, makanana. Yes, makanana. Yes, makanana. Yes, makanana. She got the shama charma. Shilo ini makanana. Shilo ini makanana. Shilo ini makanana. She got the shama charma. Yes, makanana. Yes, makanana. Yes, makanana. Yes, makanana. She got the shama charma. Yes, makanana. Yes, makanana. Yes, makanana. Yes, makanana.
This is SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. This is SAFM.
Just tell me about how this concert series fits in with what you are trying to do with these young people.
The reality is that private funders do not just thoughtlessly throw their resources around.
It is one thing to get a backtrack like that for a finance guy, hey?
Somebody just WhatsApped me to say that she has a daughter who has hearing loss.
Corruption in South Africa has reached disgraceful levels.
First things first, let's get to my daily that's my point feature. So, did you see Cristiano Ronaldo cry yesterday?
This is SAFM. This is SAFM.
Just tell me about how this concert series fits in with what you are trying to do with these young people.
The reality is that private funders do not just thoughtlessly throw their resources around.
It is one thing to get a backtrack like that for a finance guy, hey?
Somebody just WhatsApped me to say that she has a daughter who has hearing loss.
Corruption in South Africa has reached disgraceful levels.
First things first, let's get to my daily that's my point feature. So, did you see Cristiano Ronaldo cry yesterday?
This is SAFM.
Music never sleeps, and neither do we.
kuyabikwa angikhathali leyo nto phela isuke inzima hard work I am ngivuke ekuseni ngenza uhlelo kumele benza njalo I hold myself impumelelo sesiseduze nayo Shilo ini makanana Shilo ini makanana Shilo ini makanana Shigepisha machari mani Shilo ini makanana Shilo ini makanana Shilo ini makanana Shigepisha machari mani Yilesh makanana Yilesh makanana Yilesh makanana Yilesh makanana Shigepisha machari mani Shilo ini makanana Shilo ini makanana Shilo ini makanana Shigepisha machari mani Yilesh makanana Yilesh makanana Yilesh makanana Yilesh makanana Shigepisha machari mani Yilesh makanana Yilesh makanana Yilesh makanana Yilesh makanana
This is SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. This is SAFM.
Just tell me about how this concert series fits in with what you are trying to do with these young people.
The reality is that private funders do not just thoughtlessly throw their resources around.
It is one thing to get a backtrack like that for a finance guy, hey?
Somebody just WhatsApped me to say that she has a daughter who has hearing loss.
Corruption in South Africa has reached disgraceful levels.
First things first, let's get to my daily that's my point feature. So, did you see Cristiano Ronaldo cry yesterday?
This is SAFM. This is SAFM.
Just tell me about how this concert series fits in with what you are trying to do with these young people.
The reality is that private funders do not just thoughtlessly throw their resources around.
It is one thing to get a backtrack like that for a finance guy, hey?
Somebody just WhatsApped me to say that she has a daughter who has hearing loss.
Corruption in South Africa has reached disgraceful levels.
First things first, let's get to my daily that's my point feature. So, did you see Cristiano Ronaldo cry yesterday?
This is SAFM.
Music never sleeps, and neither do we.
phela isuyinzima. Hard work I am. Ngivuke ekuseni ngenza uhlelo, omelela benza njalo. I hold myself impumelela. Sesiseduze nayo. Shilo ini makanana. Shilo ini makanana. Shilo ini makanana. Shigepisha majarima. Shilo ini makanana. Shilo ini makanana. Shilo ini makanana. Shigepisha majarima. Yes makanana. Yes makanana. Yes makanana. Yes makanana. Shigepisha majarima. Shilo ini makanana. Shilo ini makanana. Shilo ini makanana. Shigepisha majarima. Yes makanana. Yes makanana. Yes makanana. Yes makanana. Shigepisha majarima. Yes makanana. Yes makanana. Yes makanana. Yes makanana.
This is SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. This is SAFM.
Just tell me about how this concert series fits in with what you are trying to do with these young people.
The reality is that private funders do not just thoughtlessly throw their resources around.
It is one thing to get a backtrack like that for a finance guy, hey?
Somebody just WhatsApped me to say that she has a daughter who has hearing loss.
Corruption in South Africa has reached disgraceful levels.
First things first, let's get to my daily that's my point feature. So, did you see Cristiano Ronaldo cry yesterday?
This is SAFM. This is SAFM.
Just tell me about how this concert series fits in with what you are trying to do with these young people.
The reality is that private funders do not just thoughtlessly throw their resources around.
It is one thing to get a backtrack like that for a finance guy, hey?
Somebody just WhatsApped me to say that she has a daughter who has hearing loss.
Corruption in South Africa has reached disgraceful levels.
First things first, let's get to my daily that's my point feature. So, did you see Cristiano Ronaldo cry yesterday?
This is SAFM.
Music never sleeps, and neither do we.
phela isuke inzima. Hard work I am. Ngivuke ekuseni ngenza uhlelo, kumele ngabenza njalo. I hold myself impumelelo. Sesiseduze nayo.
Shilo ini makanana. Shilo ini makanana. Shilo ini makanana. She got the shama jarma. Shilo ini makanana. Shilo ini makanana. Shilo ini makanana. She got the shama jarma. Yes, makanana. Yes, makanana. Yes, makanana. Yes, makanana. She got the shama jarma. Shilo ini makanana. Shilo ini makanana. Shilo ini makanana. She got the shama jarma. Yes, makanana. Yes, makanana. Yes, makanana. Yes, makanana. She got the shama jarma. Yes, makanana. Yes, makanana. Yes, makanana. Yes, makanana.
This is SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. This is SAFM.
Just tell me about how this concert series fits in with what you are trying to do with these young people.
The reality is that private funders do not just thoughtlessly throw their resources around.
It is one thing to get a backtrack like that for a finance guy, hey?
Somebody just WhatsApped me to say that she has a daughter who has hearing loss.
Corruption in South Africa has reached disgraceful levels.
First things first, let's get to my daily that's my point feature. So, did you see Cristiano Ronaldo cry yesterday?
This is SAFM. This is SAFM.
Just tell me about how this concert series fits in with what you are trying to do with these young people.
The reality is that private funders do not just thoughtlessly throw their resources around.
It is one thing to get a backtrack like that for a finance guy, hey?
Somebody just WhatsApped me to say that she has a daughter who has hearing loss.
Corruption in South Africa has reached disgraceful levels.
First things first, let's get to my daily that's my point feature. So, did you see Cristiano Ronaldo cry yesterday?
This is SAFM.
Music never sleeps, and neither do we.
phela isuyinzima. Hard work I am. Ngivuke ekuseni ngenza uhlelo, melela benza njalo. I hold myself impumelelo. Sesiseduze nayo.
Shilo ini makanana. Shilo ini makanana. Shilo ini makanana. She got the shama jana mane. Shilo ini makanana. Shilo ini makanana. Shilo ini makanana. She got the shama jana mane. Yes makanana. Yes makanana. Yes makanana. Yes makanana. She got the shama jana mane. Shilo ini makanana. Shilo ini makanana. Shilo ini makanana. She got the shama jana. Yes makanana. Yes makanana. Yes makanana. Yes makanana. She got the shama jana. Yes makanana. Yes makanana. Yes makanana. Yes makanana.
This is SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. This is SAFM.
Just tell me about how this concert series fits in